Hello.
Instead of hitting my click button, I hit my back button and I backed out of the live stream tab, so I had to go back so I
Oh,
could restart this. We're good now. Okay,
okay.
cool.
We can do this.
Welcome to Talking Heads, everyone. Episode 388, your once weekly live show for the latest in beer and tech news. I'm Jeff.
I'm Jordan.
There we go. Thank you so much for joining on this Wednesday night or in podcast form over on Spotify or wherever your favorite podcasts are found. If you've never seen the show before, we talk beer, we talk tech, we talk games, pop culture, entertainment, sometimes some Star Trek. All super chats are run on the air so long as they will not permanently demonetize the channel. We do drink alcohol on the show, and if you're drinking along with us, alcoholic or not, let us know in the chat and we'll give some early show shoutouts as we go along. Last but not least, if you'd like to take part in the super secret chat and the even more super secret after party, think about joining the Patreon. Link is down in the video description, and as a bonus, you'll get exclusive access to my Discord server, where you can chat with myself, John, Brett, Steve, heck, even Jordan is there, and hang out with the awesome community that hangs out over there. Welcome to the show. Jordan, how you doing, sir?
Doing great, man.
Excellent.
Feeling rejuvenated, rested, relaxed.
Good to see you. Yeah. Yeah, you all remember Jordan. He was on, I think, just before Computex.
Yeah.
And then I still haven't edited the super secret video from Computex that you were a part of.
Oh, okay.
Yes. But
There's
that one,
two of those, not just from you,
yeah.
that are still kicking around out there.
Yeah.
No,
there's-
Computex was fun. We had a good time together.
Yeah. Yeah, so yeah, I know George still has a video that has you and I in it that hasn't been published, and I still have one with Yumi and Rhett that hasn't been published. But I think maybe this weekend I'll get that finally up and going, because
That might be good.
that was a fun one.
I'm having some PTSD at the moment about it, but yes, it was a good time.
No doubts.
Moving on before we spoil the fun.
Yes. So not a lot of tech news today, but some tech adjacent news. And you and I, obviously, we like our car content, and there was something that popped up that was very car related, and I figured that might be fun to have you on for. But let's go
There
ahead.
was another one that I saw too that I'm interested to talk about. I forgot to put it on the list.
Oh yeah, hit it on the list, and we'll get that going
my
as well.
My bartender has brought in the
Ooh.
my lovely wife. Sorry, got the eyes there.
We call mine the producer. So yeah, the producer has a note for me. Hold on.
Yes.
So what are you drinking? Let's start with you, since you've just been served.
Yeah. So I got Whiteout from Sleeping Giant. I did the old fashioned go to the store and pick all the coolest looking cans.
Yes.
Whatever looks interesting. So it's from Sleeping Giant Brewing Company. It's a 6.1% alcohol strong beer.
Nice.
It is in Ontario. Thunder Bay, Ontario. Shout out to Thunder Bay. Love it over there.
Okay. Yeah.
It's got water, malted barley, oats, wheat, hops, and yeast in it.
Good old fashioned
So
recipe.
sounds like a good beer.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I'm not going to have this one on the show tonight, but I did pregame a little bit. Like 4:00, I'm thirsty. I feel like all my work's done for the day. All I have left is the podcast. I'm going to have a beer. And much like you earlier today, I went out and I grabbed a bunch of really cool labels. This is the coolest label that I've seen in quite some time. This is from Level Beer.
Oh, I like that.
Rebellions are built on hops.
That is a really cool can.
So Level Beer loves to skirt
Just
they're
right
the
up to the
Icarus of
edge.
copyright.
It's kind of like all of this, right? It's
Right. So they've got like the Tatooine-esque sun behind
Yeah.
it. I have no idea who this is supposed to be. I mean, it could be any random robot in a galaxy far, far away. But yeah, Rebellions are built on hops. Galactic IPA. It was a 7%er. I had this just before the show. Very hoppy and very dry. It was really like a nice, refreshing summer beer. It was absolutely perfect. I'll probably have that one on the show maybe next week or the week after.
Okay. So this whiteout hazy is very dry. I just had the little sip out of the can that didn't make it into the glass, and we can It's hazy,
Oh yeah, nice.
but yeah, it's very dry as well.
And then this one I had not seen before. So this one is 10 Barrel Brewing out of Bend,
Okay.
Oregon. They are a technically an InBev property, so Anheuser-Busch, but they still have like full autonomy of their full brewing process. Like they're one of the early craft beers that
Oh,
sold out, but they kept all their brewers, they kept all their special recipes, they still do like all this off the wall stuff. They're actually the inventor of cryo hops. So if you've ever
okay.
seen anyone use freeze dried hops, Hop Valley is the one that started that.
Interesting.
And they patented the process for it and everything else. This one is a beer for the Seattle Krakens. So it's Release the Stash IPA. A lot of their beers are called Cryo Stash beers, and so this is a
Okay.
cryo hopped IPA, but for the Seattle Krakens. 7.0%. And yeah, just a cool little collab, local team shout out as well. So there we go.
I lost my chat window. There were some folks talking about some interesting beers.
Novella says, "May the Schwartz be with you." Yes.
Yes. Oh, I'm very excited for that.
Yeah. Oh gosh.
Oh man. I there someone else, I didn't come up with this idea, but someone else had the idea about they missed the opportunity to do the funniest thing ever, and it was just quietly release the movie and not make any announcement
Mm-hmm.
as a reference to the new technology. Look, the movie's
Instant
out before it's
cassettes.
even
Yes.
yeah.
Um, my favorite part of that is I don't know if you saw History of the World Part 2. Mel Brooks did that with Comedy
Mm-mm.
Central and Nick Kroll a couple years ago. And while it had some very funny bits in it, it felt like it was too much of Nick Kroll pushing on to Mel Brooks comedy rather than the other way around. Like it should have been Mel Brooks leading the charge, and it wasn't. And it for me, that whole thing just felt a little bit off. It sounds like this is going to be like exclusively like a Mel Brooks written thing. And I'm really excited that all the original actors are coming back, or at least the ones that are still with us are coming back. But you can tell Mel Brooks still has it, still has a little fire under him. He's 99 years old, for God's sake.
Yeah.
And they did like the preview, like the dark helmet, helmet fading in, but it's beat in like Darth Vader's helmet in Force Awakens. And Mel Brooks goes, "We asked you, the fans, what movie we if we could make any movie, what would we make? But we didn't listen, and so instead we're making this."
Oh man.
Just that self-deprecating humor is
Yeah.
just so perfect. So yeah, this one's I wouldn't quite call it hazy. You can still see through it, but it's not the clearest IPA I've ever seen. But gorgeous head, very very thick head on this thing.
Yeah, that poured really nice. This one poured very well as well. I'll save the second beer for later. I've got it in a koozie off to the side to save a little coldness.
My second beer needs to warm up slightly, so
Ah, okay.
it's fresh out of the fridge, but this one needs to be poured at like 45 or 50 degrees. So we'll
Get
wait
there
for
when
that
we
one
get
just a
there.
little bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
We do have a couple shout outs real quick. Coffee and Cynicism, drinking a Fear Movie Lions. That is my favorite Stone IPA. 8.5%, 3.88 on Untapped. Novella's got a Modest Man Brewing Mega The Check Your Head Edition Double IPA, 8.5%. Bee's Knees has a Victory Brewing Dirt Wolf Double IPA, 8.7%. Harley's got an Against the Grain Citra Ass Down Double IPA.
I was looking at the name of that, and I'm very interested
It's
in what that tastes like.
Citra Ass Down
Yeah.
is what it's supposed to be. Like it took me a second to put
Yeah.
the words together in the right timbre. But Jason's got a Red Hook Juicy Big Ballard Imperial IPA. That is a old school classic. Gameeks has a New Belgium Brewing Fat Tire. Always a good standby. Love a good Belgian white. And Jack Sparrow's got a nice Kroger brand $1 flavored sparkling water. Excellent.
Circuit Rewind, Vince, right? Has a blueberry, so I guess that'll be a good time. Oh, I did grab one as well.
Ooh,
But again, this was
yeah.
another, I saw the can and I saw airplane, I saw beaver, and I went, yeah, I'll take that.
Done. Yeah.
I didn't even look at what it was. I was like, oh, you got a blueberry ale. I want to try that. That's why I got two of each.
And I'm sorry, Vince, I missed you because I saw your normal beer greeting and then missed your ale down below. But yeah, you've got a Two-Town Cider House Blueberry Cosmic Crisp. I've had that one. It is quite excellent. It's actually one of my wife's favorites. Skull says Tim Russ needs to make a reprise. Tim Russ did post on, it was either Twitter or Bluesky, that he will be continuing to comb the desert here shortly. So it sounds like Tim Russ is officially back.
That's
at
awesome.
least to reprise his We Ain't Found S role. Yeah. I hope he shows up for 3 seconds, just like in the first one.
Yeah. Just the most perfect 3 seconds. Too.
Exactly. Yeah, and then there was one more that came in. Reverend, cracking into a Bretta Weiss, Berliner Weiss style sour ale from Firehouse Walker. Always a great brewery. 4.7%, 4.0 on Untapped. That's impressive for a 4.7%er. 4.09 on Untapped. Jeez. So, cool.
I'm taking a look to see what this whiteout's rated at 3.7. Okay. I can see why. It's certainly delicious.
Tim Russ years ago posted a 60-second long video on YouTube from his personal account and just goes, I have been all over the world. I've been a cop. I've been a CIA operative. I've traveled the galaxy on the Starship Voyager. But the thing I'm most known for is combing the desert 35 years ago and saying, we ain't found shit. and the whole time he's sitting
perfect.
there, and the whole time he's sitting there, and he's got like this little Japanese Zen garden in front of him, and he has a tiny little hair comb, and he's just combing through the Zen garden.
Oh man,
it is the most awesome little self-reflective.
So as some people may know, I moved a few years ago, and I'm still kind of in the unpacking all of you throw your entire life into boxes, and I'm still kind of getting through some of the stuff, and I found some of my old office boxes because I used to have a much bigger space. Mm-hmm. And I found my little Zen garden to cut with the sand. And then, I can't remember where I got it from, but yeah, it made me think of that as we ain't found it.
You have the tiny little rake with it too.
I do, yeah.
Nice.
And actually, so it was a bit of a running joke in the house, and my wife eventually had found me, I don't know where or how, small beach toys and a little umbrella. So it's got a chair, an umbrella, beach ball.
Nice.
Oh.
Abdul chimes in, member for 51 months. Thank you.
Wow.
Thank you very much.
That's a commitment. That's like car payments worth of.
That's right. 9 more payments and this channel's paid off.
Yeah, baby, let's go.
No, thank you very much. That is excellent.
So, should we jump into?
Yeah, let's dive into this one. Yeah.
We should actually do tech news so Ian Cuttress doesn't complain again. And then we can get into everything else.
Right, exactly. So this is a little bit of a different story, a little bit different take on Novella chiming in with 58 months slaps roof. Bravo, bravo. You could fit so much tech content in this thing.
Yeah.
Uh, this is a story that caught my eye earlier this week. As both a tech guy and a guy who is starting to do a lot more data center content, AI generation, AI processing, and also as a car guy. So, this is a story. This was in Florida? No, Alabama. Atlanta, Georgia. Atlanta, Georgia. There we go. One customer was charged $440 for a scuff on his Hertz rental car wheel. Sounds pretty standard, right? Like, we've all been that guy. You've returned a rental car and there's a ding in the door that you don't remember. Someone hit you with a cart or something like that. And you go, oh, crap. Yeah, it wasn't in the notes when we signed off on the car. Yeah, cool. $400. That's what a dent costs. This story's...
You got to get the drive it off a cliff insurance, man.
You got to get the drive it off the cliff insurance. I always get the drive it like you stole it insurance. Yeah. Because I figured they're gonna eventually charge me anyway. I might as well just give them the $100 every time I do. That way, when it comes back, oh, you know, the bumper's hanging halfway off. Mm-hmm. It was like that when I got here, man.
My Amex small business card has that as a supplemental thing. I had to call them and ask for it. And I think it charges every time you do the rental car, but it's only like 30 or $35.
Yeah.
And it's the same. It's the drive it off a cliff insurance. If you accidentally drive off a cliff, they'll cover it and you're fine. So you can reject it at the counter. But I've had one instance where, oh crap, I got a door ding and then I'm out an extra couple $100 at the end of the trip.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, in the onset, if you just read like the subtitle to this story, it seems like a pretty normal thing. One customer was charged $440 for a scuff on his rental car's wheel from Hertz Rental Car. Why are we talking about this on a tech channel? Well, you'll notice from the little archway here in the photo, Hertz has started implementing AI scanning to basically run cars through in lieu of having a human automate the process. So rather, they're automating the process with a drive-through AI-powered scanner that will have composite before and after and use AI to see differences between the vehicle when you check it out and then when it's returned. And this brings up so many questions.
I have so many problems with this.
I have so many problems with this. Because, and this goes into like all aspects of what actual level of responsibility do you have as someone who rents a car to prevent incidental damage to a car that a rental company is knowingly giving you for a couple $100 a day?
Where are we drawing the line between stone chip and something just driving down the high, like in a malicious damage or negligent damage? Right.
Yeah, exactly. Because operating a motor vehicle comes with an inherent risk that is unavoidable. You get behind a semi on the highway, it kicks up a rock, and it
that happened when I was driving bought my wife a new car, driving it home, got on the freeway, dick.
20 years ago, I did a 90-mile move, and my dad came down and helped me move for this. He had a brand new, like 400 miles on it, brand new, 2003 Dodge Durango, and drove the 90 miles down to come pick me up. We loaded a bunch of stuff in his car, in my car, and a bunch of other things. And then we started driving back. And about 20 miles north of I-5, onto I-5 coming north, a truck in the left lane caught a hubcap that was on the side of the road which turned it into a frisbee. Came straight at
That
my dad.
sucks.
Came straight at my dad's hood. Skinned about 6 inches of paint down to the metal, down the center of his hood. Hit the windshield, cracked the windshield, and then bounced off the top.
Oh man,
So like
the luck
freak
of that.
things. The
Yeah.
the luck of the timing and everything of that is weird. But and so he called me and said we need to pull over. Like I need to check this out. And yeah, I mean like a gash like this long down
Oh.
his brand new truck hood. Um and
The fortunate thing about it being brand new is doing a paint respray for something like that isn't as
right,
dramatic as if it was like a 5-year-old car that's all the clear coat's all weird and the paint's
exactly.
faded and all the flakes gone out of it. Now you
Yeah.
got to go through color matching and it's never gonna be just right.
I think it
But
took him 4 months
yeah.
to get it fixed. Because it was a new model year. It was a new color. It was this weird like silver fleck graphite that Dodge
Mhm.
started using that year.
Yep.
And so they didn't even have the paint to match yet in most body shops. And so it was
Yeah.
like a special order from Dodge and they had to find the right shop. It also deformed the hood slightly, like it dented it and it was like right on the ridge in the center of it that comes up and it
Mm.
shaved down that ridge. And so they had to like reform that and sand it all down. And it was a whole process. Like it ended up being like, and this is 20 years ago, like a $3,000 scuff repair
Yeah.
because of the damage that it did.
Yeah.
And it was like, if it was any longer or took any more time, just buy a new hood. Like that's where he
Hmm.
was.
It's incredible how fast body damage can add up
Yeah.
for repair cost
Mhm.
and there's a certain point where I mean, I struggle with this with my vehicles because I'm such a perfectionist. We've talked about it on the show before, the Sunday dad energy.
Yes.
Um, it- you just have to kind of accept that dent stings and scratches are going to happen and protect it from elements as best you can,
Yeah.
or you're just gonna chase, I do my best, but it adds up so quick, and
Yeah.
I have some firsthand experience with knowing how intensive that stuff is.
Yeah.
$3,000 for the hood to replace a dent in a specialty paint. That
Mhm.
doesn't shock me at all.
Right.
I was
Exactly.
thinking you were going to say five.
Yeah. Well, this was 20 years ago too. So like
Hmm.
$6,000 in today's money.
Yeah.
But the issue here isn't that there was definable damage. There was. What we're talking about is a 1-inch scratch in one of the wheels. A 1-inch scratch.
You can pick that up from rocks bouncing. I know that because I got one
Oh,
on my truck
yeah.
in the last couple months, and I didn't hit anything. And funnily enough, the picture that they're showing in the article, I have the same vehicle.
Right.
Oh, that's a different wheel. That's a VW wheel that they're showing. They're not showing the actual damage. Never mind.
Yeah, yeah. No, this isn't the actual one, but this is an example from the scanner.
Oh, that's the one that, no, it says this is what Patrick saw on his phone when he was presented with proof of damage.
Okay,
So he didn't
gotcha.
have a Tahoe. He had a,
He had a
okay.
Volkswagen of some kind.
But I have a scratch on my Yukon in a very similar spot on the wheel that
Mhm.
is not curb damage that
Yep.
came from just something driving down the road.
Yeah.
Should that cost you $400 as a rental car customer? I
Right.
don't really think so, honestly. I
And
mean,
and here's the deal is there's a number of problems with this story. Let's break this down even further because they only charged him $125 or sorry, $250 for the repair. I'm going to quote the article from the drive here. $250 for repair. Pretty standard. $125 processing and another
you gotta pay
$65
for those
administrative
GPUs.
fee. Right.
That
So
125 goes toward Hertz's GPUs, man.
right. But here's the problem is before we weren't paying for their employee to walk around the vehicle, but now we're paying for the cameras to scan the vehicle.
Yeah.
How is that?
Oh, you see, it's very simple, Jeff. You just have to think of the shareholders.
Right. Right. So $250 for the repair, $125 for processing, and another $65 administrative fee for sending the email to him to let him know that he owed them money.
That one I definitely like. It's a cash grab.
It's a cash grab. And you know damn well this wheel is never going to be repaired.
Nope.
Because taking the wheel off the car would remove this vehicle from service.
Hertz is going to wait till the vehicle runs out of its factory warranty, and then they're going to flip it on auction to Carvana or some other dealership. And it's mostly Carvana. I actually have, this is very funny.
While you're bringing that up, Skull wanted to flex a little bit, so he chimed in with his 82-month membership.
He's got the I have a lifted diesel truck and bad credit payment plan on the channel. Sorry, I couldn't resist, Skull.
Yeah, he got the 7-year loan.
Yeah. Hang on, I gotta see what this number is because I did the unspeakable and I did buy a vehicle out of a rental fleet, but it is a Hertz vehicle.
Yeah.
And it came with all of that, standard rental car damage on it that you would expect. And they totally charged everybody for every dent, scratch, and ding on there. It didn't bother me. I knew what I was getting when I bought it, and I got a bumper to bumper warranty on it that covers almost everything except for like shocks, brakes, and oil changes. Actually, no, they included a year of oil changes, so they did kind of include some of it. So I wasn't scared of it, but they charged everybody for those, and they didn't fix them. They don't fix them.
Skull chimes in. You're right on the diesel, wrong on the lifted. He has a one of the diesel Colorados.
Oh, okay. Good luck with your timing belt in the back of your motor on that. Oh God, here we are. We're already devolving straight into car talk.
Here we go.
We're trying to do tech news, Ian Cuttress. I promise.
This is tech related.
It is. It's AI. I mean, machine learning or computer vision.
Yeah.
One of the above. All of the above. But okay, so devil's advocate for a second here. Sure. This is really cool technology, right? Yeah. The ability for them to scan in and out the vehicle, catalog the damage, identify it. I'm sure there's some pretty decent thresholds in there as far as like what counts as a rock chip, but I would 100% argue that the damage in the photo that he's showing, which is up on the wheel,
it's
that was curb rash,
not on the edge of the rim. And the tires don't show any marks, and the tires are typically bowed from the bottom of the wheel arch as well. And so to rash a wheel, you have to really impact it. You have to get past the flex of your sidewalls to damage the wheel. This is not that.
It looks like a rock got thrown up, hit the side of the wheel as it was going, whatever rate in an RPM, and took it out.
Ian's in chat now to keep us honest.
Yeah, he is. Hey, buddy.
So yeah, I don't see this as... I think my biggest problem with this is not necessarily the use of the automation. I think the automation, like you said, is really cool technology. It's and I think that's where we stand on AI as kind of a whole. Is AI is really cool technology if used in novel ways to improve productivity, to automate things that need automated, to speed up an individual's workflow. Like those are all totally legitimate use cases of AI, as well as, human genome processing and all the other things that come with it. And even something like as mundane as scanning a car to check for damage. I like the idea behind it. I have a problem with how draconian this is. Because
which part? The extra fees or the actual implementation of it? Like actually being used?
I don't necessarily have a problem with it being used. I have a problem with how low the threshold is for damage.
Okay.
And the fees that they're charging for using the scanner, and when they detect damage, they charge you for the use of the scanner. Whereas before, they wouldn't have charged you for the employee walking around with a clipboard.
I no,
But they've
I
replaced the
was
employee in the clipboard with a scanner, and now they're passing the cost of that replacement on to you.
yeah, I was laughing earlier, but I was dead serious in my assessment that someone's got to pay for those GPUs. It's going to
Hmm.
be you because you damaged the car, and we're going to stick this fee on here because now we don't have to pay an employee, and someone has to think of the shareholders.
That's exactly right. Yeah. And with how minimal this damage is, a 1 inch gash on a wheel, um, which honestly might even be buffed out depending on what it is. Like, is it actually a scratch? Is it actually through the clear, through paint, through metal, through finish, whatever else? Or is this residue from a hit that you take a wet washcloth to and you go like that, and the scratch disappears? We don't
Well,
know.
here's the other thing that's going to drive me nuts about this. And again, bought a car out of the Hertz fleet.
Mm-hmm.
They stick those things through car wash tunnels a bajillion times.
Yeah,
Those do a lot of damage to the paint.
they
I
really
had
do.
to do I did an $1,800 paint correction on that vehicle,
Mm-hmm.
and I was there when they did it. I saw what went into it. It's
Mm-hmm.
it's it's horribly abusive. So how are we going to know if the car wash did it or if the customer did it?
Right.
Because if we're scanning it when it's clean going out and then we're scanning it when it's dirty coming back, that scratch might be
It,
dirt.
if there's
Yeah.
a mud spray up the side of your door,
Hmm.
is that going to be interpreted as paint damage now?
Yeah. I, I I don't. Yeah, the when you get down to these levels of questions, it's
Yeah.
it's hard to dissect.
The other
I
thing that was incredibly frustrating about this story is the Patrick, the guy involved in this, was trying to get on the phone with a human to verify the damage, and Hertz, through all their phone trees, through all their online chats, through everything else, had no human contact. They basically would not allow it. You
Jesus
can't press
Christ, yeah.
zero on the phone anymore and get to an operator. You can't say, hey, chatbot, I'm having a question you can't answer about my bill. I need to talk to someone. We're sorry, there's no one available to take your calls. So they've also replaced all of their customer service with AI and chatbots and phone trees.
Yeah,
Um,
that's endemic, I think, across customer support. I don't think that
100%.
that's necessarily
Yeah.
Hertz. I had some stuff. This was a government agency, a U.S. government agency that I had to get
Mm-hmm.
in contact with for some stuff, and finding the phone number that could actually get you to a human was more labor intensive than the task that needed to be completed. It was it oh, sorry, you go through the automated system and the automated system says, oh, I can't help you with that. I got to transfer you to an agent. Well, yeah, if it could be handled automated, I wouldn't be here. Like, I need to talk to somebody.
Yeah.
And then you get into the queue and it goes, oh, all agents are busy and we don't have time, and hangs up the call. Like,
Yep.
it's I dread picking up the phone to talk to any organization these days for those reasons. And I feel for this guy on this, and it's crap that he had a computer flag what looks like it could be a piece of dirt or a bird dropping or something like that on
Right.
a wheel. Get told to pay $440.
Yep. As Ian puts it, this might not be compute. This might be actually Indians.
Yeah,
This might be AI, a la Amazon.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I mean that scanner looks pretty pricey, but yeah, you might be dead on with that assessment too, where there
yeah.
might be just really cheap outsourced labor, and the system knows how to pull up the inventory code
Yep.
side by side on all of the things, and someone's just sitting there going same, same, same,
Yep.
defect, same, same, and they don't have any concern or maybe even knowledge about the other person on the other end of it.
Right. Yeah. But it's the entire disconnect from and look, if you damage a car as a renter, you should be responsible for those damages. I'm not arguing
Yeah.
that. I'm saying if I jam a wheel into a curb hard enough to leave road rash on the tire and the wheel, I'm absolutely at fault for that. I'm absolutely responsible as the driver for that.
Mm-hmm.
My question is, because there's policies for rental cars that you can add for like $2 a day to cover hail damage for rental cars that are stored outside when they're not being rented.
Yeah.
What is the impetus on the renter to prevent hail damage? A naturally occurring weather phenomenon that can produce baseballs that'll drop down onto your car. Is it indicative of the renter to pay for hail damage just because the car was in their possession when the hail occurred? And so like damage like that, I have a real hard time with. Incidental rock chips and rocks flying up and road incidents that happen that the renter is completely out of control of. But simply by driving, you have damaged the vehicle, which simply by driving a vehicle, you damage it. I have problem with the little nitpicky things.
Was that a dig at my 6.2?
I didn't say anything about the LS7's a wonderful engine, isn't it?
L87. Yeah.
L87, excuse me.
Novella asked previously, yes, it's fantastic now. Everything is good.
Yep. Green chimes in. I've come to the point where anytime someone says I've been thinking of playing games in VM with GPU pass-through, I get pinged in a random Discord. You and me both, brother.
It's almost like you guys should create some sort of guide of like moving pictures that shows people how.
Man, if only someone on a YouTube channel had produced 21 individual videos, literally hours of content around virtualizing GPUs inside of a VM so you could play games.
That would be wonderful.
Yeah.
Oh man. So I think we're all in agreement. AI rental car scanning, good in theory, needs refinement in practice.
Yeah, like I said, I'm not even against the process of scanning a car to check for defects. I am against the nickel and dime it so much and absolve a rental company who rents cars to be driven on the road of all liability when the car is not in their care.
Yeah.
Like there is.
But also, I mean, like, how many stories have you seen of Hertz where, like, they report a car stolen and get someone almost shot, or I think in some cases shot over, like,
or absolute
bad paperwork.
Arrested or potentially arrested. There was a story maybe 4 months ago or so that Hertz sent the cops after a stolen rental car from a person who had never ever done business with Hertz. In fact, they had bought the car at auction and Hertz simply had a GPS tracker in it still, I believe was the story. And all of a sudden you've got 6 armed cops swarming a car from someone who legitimately bought it. There's a whole bunch of.
I've never been on the receiving end of a felony traffic stop, but I've seen enough YouTube body cam channels that does not look like fun.
I have had one particular run-in with police that pissed me the hell off. And the only reason I'm probably alive today is because of my pasty as hell skin color. Like, I will say that much. And maybe that's not being PC, maybe that's whatever. I do respect and understand the privilege that I carry, and the interaction that I had with the officer is definitely a reflection of my privilege. So I get it. Okay. I manage a haunted house. I have managed a haunted house for nearly 20 years. Our haunted house closes at 11, and I usually drive home sometime around midnight. And so usually 12:30, 1 o'clock, I'm still on the road driving home, wherever I'm going. I was driving home one night from my work at the haunted house, drove through a very small town, and I came up to a traffic light. There was a red light. I stop at the red light, and I'm turning left, and there's a car. So I'm turning left. There's a car oncoming to me that's also waiting at the red light with no lights on. No headlights, no spotlight, no nothing. Just right-hand lane, nothing. So when my light turns green,
You do the flash.
when my
your
light
lights
turns
aren't on.
when my light turns green and not a protected turn, I am supposed to wait for that car to go, because that car in the right-hand lane can proceed forward or turn right, and they have right-of-way.
Mm-hmm.
So I crept forward maybe about 10 feet, and then I stopped, and I'm looking at this car, and they're not moving. So I gave a flash. Your light is green. I am presenting your right-of-way to you. And I waited maybe 10 seconds. And then I went, okay. And I turned left, and I went on the road. I'm looking in my rearview mirror, and that car turns right behind me, maybe about 70 yards behind me or so. Like, he waited a while, and then he turned right. Still no headlights. Speeds up on me. And my house is maybe a mile down the road or so. Sped up on me, and by the time I'm approaching my driveway, is right up behind me. So I turn on my blinker, and I turn slowly into my driveway. And the cop follows me into my driveway and then turns on his flashers. So I stop immediately, obviously. Like, I lived in a little park area, and so I like stopped in front of the manager's section of the park, and my house was like another 100 yards down the road. I just stopped right there and put it in park, and hands off the wheel, just kind of, hey, cool. Officer walks up, and so I roll down the window, and he goes, "What are you doing tonight?" And I said, "Oh, I'm just on my way home from work." And he goes, "Okay, cool. The reason we stopped you tonight is your license plate isn't reflective enough." And I said, "Excuse me?" And he goes, "Yeah, your license plate needs to be able to be seen from 100 yards away, reflected out of the headlights." And I said, "That's weird, because you didn't have your headlights on." And so I'm immediately confrontational and pissed off.
Yeah.
And he goes, No, I hit you with the spotlight." And I went, "No, because I watched you with your lights off the entire way. I flashed you at the light, and then you sped up well past the 35-mile-an-hour speed limit that I was traveling to catch up onto me within a mile, and then pulled up behind me in my personal residence, and then turned on your flashers." And he goes, "Well, sir, the reason I pulled you over is because of that." And I said, "Okay. Do you mind if I get out and look, and you can show me what you're talking about?" And he reaches back, and he grabs his pistol. And he goes, "No, sir, I need you to stay in the car right now." And I went, "Okay, cool. Do you need anything from me?" And he goes, "Yeah, license, registration." I said, "Okay, that's fine." Handed him license, registration. He went and he ran him and whatnot. And he handed him back, and I said, "Can we just agree what you pulled me over for? Can I go now?" It's 1 a.m. You pulled me over because you were hoping I was drunk. Like, that's the only reason you possibly pulled me over, and the way you did it. And he goes, "Yeah, you're good to go." And I said, "Okay, cool." And so I drove away. Again, a lot of privilege. I'm able to have that interaction. I'm able to have that standoffish interaction with a police officer. But
So the closest I got to, I think that was
he put his hand on his pistol when I asked,
Oh, yeah.
"Could I get out of the car?" And you can tell me what you're talking about. Requested first.
No, I yeah, I I feel bad because there's a lot of good cops and I know a lot of good cops and
Hmm.
it's not it can be a very rewarding job,
Totally.
but man, the suck. I can't imagine. First responders, firefighters, cops, paramedics.
Hmm.
Um, my kid goes to school with some kids who's that's their dad's job and just, hanging out, talking to those guys every once in a while, they'll say something and it's just like, holy shit, what did you just say?
Yeah.
Like,
Hmm.
you saw what?
Yep.
Um, so I can appreciate that there's, a mental tax with it, but also there's no it, it's human nature too. I don't know.
Hmm.
I got yanked off my motorcycle and I had my bike impounded one time because my wife and I were moving. It was like we're moving from our first like rental house to our second, like just moving, and I had to move a motorcycle. And so I was like, okay, well, we loaded the van, put all the stuff in the van. I was like, okay, I'll follow you over there. And it's like 4 miles in southeast Phoenix, so it's all a grid.
Yeah.
It's just straight down. And we go through this one area, and I'm like sitting at a light, waiting at a light, just sitting on the motorcycle. She's in the van in front of me, been right behind her the whole time, and take off from the light. Cherries and berries, sirens right behind me. Like, what the hell? So I turn off. She notices what's happening, turns off at the next entrance, a block down to the shopping center that's, massive supermarket area. And they come up and they rip me off this bike and put me on the ground, handcuffs, whatever,
Hmm.
shouting at me, everything. License, where's the registration? I'm like, I don't have any of it on me. My wife's right there. It's all in that car.
Yeah.
I'm following her to our new house. Well, you were speeding. You were going 55 and a third, 58 or something, over 50. I can't remember what they said. They didn't have a number because it never ended up getting written down. But they were like, oh, it was a 35 and you were going way fast on your loud motorcycle. It was a 650 Gixxer. It really wasn't that fast.
Yeah.
But
You
um,
do 9,000 in second gear, you're still doing 45.
yeah, yeah.
Right.
But there's no way I was going that fast because I'm following my wife in a minivan with all of her crap and it was just like crazy. And they were right there. And so long story short, they refused to get my information that she had being in the same parking lot as me from her. And then wrote my social security number down wrong when they gave you name, date of birth, social
Hmm.
security number, put a zero instead of an eight. So then I got the whole riot act of why are you lying? What are you hiding? What's wrong with like blah blah blah? And it's like, I, what?
Yeah.
I, like I don't even know what you would be accusing me of lying of because I've told you exactly what I'm doing. And then
Yeah.
15 minutes go by and somebody finally thinks to re-ask me for my information again instead of
Yeah.
accusing me of lying, be like, okay, well then tell me your information again if it's all right. And
This
I just hear the
is
guy go,
yeah.
shit, I wrote down a zero.
This
Dude,
is
camera
um
fix. Sorry, guys.
oh, you're fine. Um this is one thing that I always harped into my employees whenever I was doing training. And mind you, I wasn't training cops or first responders or anyone
Yeah.
life and death situation, but I trained retail workers and I trained technicians and field service techs and all kinds of things like that. And when you work in an environment that you deal with the same situation 1,000 times a year, you start to be able to you are able to move through that situation 100 times faster than anyone else.
Hmm.
The problem is if you're interacting with a customer or a person who you're supposed to be servicing, this is their first time through that interaction. You have to act as if it's your first time and you are guiding them through it.
Yeah. What did you want to know when it was the first time you ever saw this?
You might have given this same speech to 1,000 people in the last year. But it's the first time you are having this interaction with this person in front of you. And you
Hmm.
have to keep that in mind. You cannot move faster than they can move. You cannot explain things faster than they can comprehend. You cannot skip steps that you think are boring or not important because you're leaving out a big piece of the puzzle for them.
Yep.
And the easiest example of this is in retail. Is you know, a customer asks a question and you jump 3 questions ahead because you know their train of thought already, but they haven't thought of that question yet. Or I'll give you one really solid example. Is we used to service a lot of K-12s, and inside of a K-12, we have projectors mounted in classrooms or PowerPoints up on screens and whatnot. And all of the teachers in classrooms used to have keyspan remotes. So they could operate their mouse. It has a little Logitech style nub mouse, and then a couple of buttons, and then buttons for your PowerPoint control. People would use these mice and they'd do their PowerPoints and whatnot, and they'd set the mice down. And then 6 hours later, they'd come down and they'd try to type an email, and they'd try to move their mouse on their computer, and their mouse would like slowly drift to one side. It would like snap to a corner somewhere. And so we'd get constant tickets in about, hey, I can't find I'm moving my mouse, but it's not working. And I've tried unplugging it and plugging it back in, and I still can't move it. Or if I move it to the center of the screen, it like snaps to the side and I can't click on anything and my mouse isn't working. And there's a million explanations for that. But the one explanation that's constant in that environment is turn off your keyspan remote.
Yeah.
However, you cannot jump to that conclusion and do it with such authority and snap at the people like they should already know your remote is the problem. Even though it's a question we answer 1,000 times a year, you have to go, hey, do you have a PowerPoint remote? Well, yes, I do. Is it in a drawer? Is there something on top of it? There's a mouse nub on top of that you might not know exists. Either you need to make sure the remote is facing up or turned off, and your thing should work again. Like, you have to approach it calmly. If you simply go, it's your fucking remote, turn it off, you're an asshole now.
Yeah.
And so, as a police officer, as a first responder, as someone in more of a live and die situation, as an authority figure, you still have to keep those things in mind. This is the first time you are issuing this command to this person. And I know you've issued it 1,000 times in the past, and 20% of the people will blow you off because they're hiding something, or they're trying to run from the law, or they have a warrant out, or whatever else. But if you snap to that 20%, you've now discredited the 80% that are innocent. Yeah. And that's a problem. And that's a problem with human nature and interaction in general. And so when I was pulled over because the dude was positive I was drunk, even though I was simply on my way home from work, and the only time anyone ever sees me is with a beer in my hand, which is freaking hilarious. And so I get called an alcoholic constantly, and it's like, do you realize the only time I really drink is on camera? Like maybe once or twice a week, I'll have a cocktail with dinner, and that's what I drink.
Yeah. It's weird. The world is weird, man.
Yeah.
Just
yeah.
Anyways, should we talk about a 3050?
Sure.
Okay, it'll keep Ian happy. He's complaining.
Thought this was a tech channel. Yeah. Cars are tech.
Cars are tech.
Cars are tech.
Come on, man.
Moral of the story, make sure you have a dash cam.
Yes.
I have a dash cam in every one of my vehicles. I make sure they're recording constantly. And so I probably pop the SD cards out about once a month, and I'll make sure that they recorded my last trip still. Make sure you have a dash cam. Protect yourself from those snap judgments.
Oh, I should order a dash cam from one trip.
Yep.
I'm gonna order it to my buddy's house so I can actually get it tomorrow.
There you go. Jeff has a stunt double for drinks. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, man.
So, yeah. Nvidia made a kind of surprise, kind of not. I mean, we never got a 4050, but I don't think any of us really expected that. But we did get a 5050, an RTX 5050, 8GB GDDR6, $249 launch price, launching in mid to late July. It's an 8GB card. It has 2560 CUDA cores of Blackwell goodness, 8GB of GDDR6, and I can hear it now. Nvidia's just taking advantage of stupid consumers, and this is a stupid product that should never exist, and they all think you're stupid. And this card's going to be a bestseller because everyone's going to buy it anyway, because sometimes people just want to play games.
Yeah, I was planning on doing some background research on this that I'm currently doing on the fly. Um, the
It's about 10% fewer CUDA cores than the RTX 4060. 3072 versus 2560. So that's actually about 15% shy. Watt per watt, Blackwell's only about 1% improvement in like IPC than Ada was, but you can also crank it slightly higher. So this is going to have a 130 watt TDP, and so in theory it should be within spitting distance of an RTX 4060, which was a $299 graphics card. This is going to be $249. And at $249, what are your expectations?
my expectations are that the 50 series captures around 13 to 14% of the market based on the Steam hardware survey, ranging on everything from the 1050 to 4050.
Mm-hmm.
4050 laptop, I should say.
Yep. Yeah,
'Cause
we
that
never
was
got
a
a
thing.
desktop release. We did get a laptop release. That is correct.
That includes 3050 laptop, 1050, 1650, which 50 series. If you take those out, you lose about 3% on that.
Yeah.
But I mean, what are we just going to tell 13 to 14% of the people that they're stupid and have the wrong GPU choice?
That they shouldn't be enjoying the games that they're playing?
How dare you
How
ball on a
dare
budget?
you? I can tell you
Yeah.
I'm probably going to like this card. Not because I love Nvidia, not because I hate AMD, not because I whatever else. I bet this card beats the B580 and doesn't have the driver overhead of the B580, which means you can run a lower end processor, which means you can run a cheaper PC and have a better overall experience than the B580. Also, Nvidia still has better ray tracing, better DLSS than the competitors, better AI upsampling, which is going to lead to a better performant card in the $250 range. If you ignore that and you go, oh, straight rasterization, it's 6% faster than the B580, and I don't think that's right, or it's only 3% faster, or it's 5% slower than the 4060, and Nvidia's just taking advantage. You have to judge what's in front of you.
Also, it's another 8GB card.
It's another 8GB card, which is going to struggle with exactly 5 games at 1080p ultra settings. Turn those games to high.
Yeah. Which, if you have a 50 series, you probably should be at that anyway.
Right. If you're spending $250 on a graphics card, you didn't expect ultra settings anyway.
Yeah. And you're not running 9950 X3D as your CPU with a bunch of DRAM.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I never have had a problem with the mid-range and the low-end stuff because it's going to go into things like, again, I think we talked about this with a 60 series on the last podcast that NVIDIA announced, which is this is going to go into the weirdo little workstations and the weirdo little laptops.
This is going to go into the $900 pre-built from Costco and the...
I've got right here within arm's reach 2060, I want to say, is in here. It's like a crappy, but it's just enough
Yeah.
to give GPU acceleration
Yep.
on the go, and it doesn't suck a bunch of power. And I don't need a 1080 Ti level performance
Right.
in that thing. It's perfect for what it is.
Yep.
Also, what'll be interesting, features the same NVENC encoders as the 5060. So,
Yeah. So
I
it's got
mean,
full AV1 encoding. It's got
yeah,
yeah.
for $250.
Yeah.
It does need external power, but
Um do you want to know what one of the funniest things of my career has been? Was I think it was 2019. I reviewed the brand new GTX 1650. And I had the audacity to call it the new budget king because it was 60% faster than the 1050 Ti that it was replacing. It had 4 gigs of VRAM, and the big channels were like, this is a slap in the face. It's an absolute shamble. This can't even play games at ultra settings, and at $159, Nvidia's just taking advantage of dumb consumers. And that was the review. And I called the 1650 the new budget king because it was 60% faster than the incumbent 1050 Ti at only $20 more. $139 versus $159.
yeah.
Do you know?
And there are some people who go sort by price.
And I was drugged through the mud for that opinion. Weird. The 1650 is the 4th best-selling graphics card of all time.
It's like statistics mean something.
And one of the ones on top of it is a laptop.
Yeah.
The 1650 is the 3rd best-selling graphics card in the last 6 years.
I bought one not too long ago.
I have a couple of them.
I had a system that needed a display output that needed it cheap,
Right?
and I didn't need it to do a lot of stuff, but it
It's
needed
amazing how
accelerated
your
display
opinion
output.
changes if you simply change your opinion of
reference?
what's acceptable.
Yeah. What's a
Sometimes
16?
sometimes 1080 60 is all you need. And I've said this multiple times. Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom both won Game of the Year at 22 FPS.
I like that take.
Oh, maybe it's not about performance. Maybe it's about the games you're playing. Maybe we should care less about performance and more about the games we're playing.
Yeah. But what FPS is? I don't know. Yeah, 1650, great card. Always has been.
Oh, and the 1650 can play Breath of the Wild at like 60 frames per second.
Well, that's the funny part. What happens when you start putting, discrete components at a thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. Do you have an opinion on the Switch 2 yet?
Yes, I do. Typically, tell you what, we'll do the Switch 2 opinions, and then I'm gonna open my next beer. So
okay. I opened the blueberry one. I'm not enjoying it, but I'm gonna finish it because
okay.
I'm a man.
Okay. The beaver's not doing it for you?
I love the can. It's a blueberry ale.
Yeah.
So it's
not.
I think it is what it's supposed to be, and I think that if you were into those, you would like them. I personally am not.
Okay, and that's fair. That's a fair assessment. Switch 2. Typically, a new console release is met with mind-bending new experiences, new games, new gameplay, traversing expectations for what the console had been in the previous generation.
Can I predict what you're about to say next?
Go for it.
The Switch 2 felt like a Steam Deck to Steam Deck OLED incremental increase instead of a generational increase.
Ooh. I hesitate to say incremental, and I also hesitate to say feels like what the Switch should have been. I think the Switch 2 is a pretty large jump generationally. If you look at where the original Switch hardware was and what it was capable of, they did a lot with not very much. And Nvidia and ARM both have made some tremendous strides from where ARM and integrated hardware was in 2017 to where it is today. And so today they're able to put together some very, very potent packages of very tightly integrated graphics and CPU, and you get a lot of performance out of the same TDP package. And I would have loved to have seen Breath of the Wild run at 30 FPS on the original Switch. I would have loved to see Tears of the Kingdom. And Mario Kart 8 ran at 60 FPS so long as you were only running 2 players. As soon as you added a third player, it ran at 30 FPS, and even then was hitchy. And it never felt great. However, the gameplay was always exceptional.
Yeah.
There's a reason the Switch sold like gangbuster, is because of the software that was there. Because the experiences that you could get were unlike anything else you could buy. And you were willing to accept
I personally
hardware.
did that, though. Mm-hmm. Because I bought a Switch, the first Switch on release day, blasted through Mario Odyssey, loved every second of it, went, I don't really have anything else I want to play on this. They're still holding their value. I'm going to sell it. And then a year and a half later, bought an Animal Crossing themed Switch and played through Mario Odyssey again.
You're part of the problem, Jordan.
I wasn't scalping. Like it was
totally.
within like, it was like within a month or two. Like, but like, I was just like, I think this isn't going to collect dust. Like I try and keep things moving through. But yeah, you're right. You're 100% right on that the experience and the software and the game is the reason why you bought it.
Right. And I own 3 Switches. I own 2 OG Switches, and then I also bought my wife a Switch Lite for her birthday maybe 2-3 years ago. Right after the Switch Lite came out, I bought her a Switch Lite. I don't have an OLED. I never thought I needed to spend the money to get the OLED screen. I was happy with what I had out of the Switch, and I played through Odyssey and Mario Wonder and both the Zeldas, all 3 of the Zeldas, including Link's Awakening, which I swore I'd never buy and then ended up buying. Lots of, in Mario Kart 8, lots of great experiences. And pretty much all the titles that I own are first party titles, or maybe a couple indie games here and there.
Untitled Goose Game on Switch was very fun.
It was very fun, yeah. Although I had that on, I bought that off itch.io, so I had a DRM free and could play it on handhelds already. So never played it on Switch.
I know about your love of Untitled Goose Game.
Untitled Goose Game is great.
Yeah, we talked extensively about all of the things that I need to go back and play.
Yeah. In fact, we were talking. I played Untitled Goose Game on the way to Taipei on my Steam Deck. But the Switch 2, it's lacking those first-party games that make you not think about the hardware. It's lacking a new Zelda game. It's lacking a new Mario game. It has a new Mario Kart, which is changing a lot of the things from the last 2 Mario Karts that people really fell in love with. And I'm sure people will fall in love with Mario Kart World, but it's very different. And so there's going to be some hesitation on that. And not everyone was a Mario Kart player. Like Mario Kart was like, to be honest, like a third-rate title behind a first-party Mario and a first-party Zelda. And then Mario Kart kind of fell... Mario Kart's in there with like the Metroids and the Animal Crossings and whatnot, like very popular, but not your breadwinner. And that's all they were really able to deliver. And beyond that, they have like Cyberpunk coming to the Switch too. Do you know how many devices I have played Cyberpunk on? Do you know how many devices I now own Red Dead Redemption on? Do you know how many devices I've played all these other games on? All you have is re-releases. You have no incentive for me to buy your new hardware, regardless of how good it may or may not be.
Yeah. And I've felt the fatigue of I haven't had well, a lot of people didn't like it, but I really loved Starfield.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I
Um,
really enjoyed Starfield.
I actually don't know that I finished it totally, but like I keep coming back to it and keep making incremental progress.
Yeah.
Um, uh, I'm not gonna do spoilers for anybody, so um, it feels like the games since GTA 5 have I think they want to set a bar for the franchise that is going to get exponentially longer every time to try and surpass.
Yeah.
And I think we're seeing that with GTA 5 to 6, right? Because that for a very long time is Grand Theft Auto since 3 or yeah, 3,
Yeah.
right? And then it was Vice City and then San Andreas
Mm-hmm.
and then
And then 4 and then
4,
5.
yeah, right, has been
We had those in the course of 11 years.
I know,
And
and it
now it's
happened
been
so fast.
14 years since the last one.
Go play GTA 3 and go play GTA San Andreas.
Right.
Though the tech in the game has like it doesn't feel wildly different. Yeah, the map's bigger. Yeah, there's more things to
Mm-hmm.
do. But I didn't play those games because I was like, oh, I'm only playing this because, now I can have hot coffee. Like it was that was
Now I know
I
you're
was
lying.
playing
Yes,
it
you
for
were.
the story. Yeah. I was you played it because they sent
I
you
played
on
it
the
for the
wacky
plot, of course.
what's the wacky new thing I can go do? Like,
Right.
oh, I can go shoot up these guys or beat up these guys or run this guy over or hit this guy with a jet. Like you played it for the playthrough and the fun.
Yeah.
And then when we went from 3 to 4, it was like a technological like mind explosion of just like
Right.
holy crap. And then we went 4 to 5 and it was like, oh my God, this looks like a photorealistic
Right.
almost. And then there were so many photorealism mods that are, still, I think, coming out
Right.
in some cases for 5. And it's like, yeah, the tech is wonderful and great, but I don't know. I never was into GTA Online,
Mm-hmm.
right? I tried it once or twice. It was fine, but for me
Yeah.
the experience of Grand Theft Auto is always I'm gonna sit down today and I'll do 20 minutes of story and then I'm gonna get a 5-star wanted level and try and escape and
Right.
as we transition our cops are good people to I'm just gonna
Yep.
sit down and shoot a bunch of cops in a video game.
Yep.
It was, but that was the allure of the game, right? Like you could do whatever you wanted. And I think, I've seen this in a couple different game studios. Um, Starfield is Skyrim in space,
Right.
or
Um,
Fallout in space, whatever you want to relate it to. But that's a Bethesda
well,
game,
yes,
right?
all
That's
the
what you
same thing.
expect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a weird thing of why wasn't Starfield more successful? Because it has all of the weird jank and charm and stories and sidelines and odd missions and things like that all the traditional Bethesda RPGs do, a la Fallout 3, New Vegas,
Hmm.
Skyrim, Morrowind, etc. Why doesn't it have the staying power? Because it was very successful very early on. And then the player base just died out. And I think it's because a lot of the side quests relied on going to this weird moon, and then you land on the moon that is procedurally generated. And once you understand the procedural generation of how it does all the planets, and there's infinite amount of planets that you can go to in an infinite amount of circumstances, and once you land on a planet, you inherently understand how the procedural generation works, and you go, okay, as soon as I land, I'm going to be within 4 bases, and it's going to be the same 4 bases over and over and over again.
Here's the thing, though. We saw this in 2017 with Star Citizen.
Yeah.
I am... Fuck it, I'll own it. I bought a really cool spaceship in Star Citizen because I wanted to believe in the concept.
I
spent
3.
several $100s crowdfunding that game.
Yeah.
Because I believed
think I've got about
in the
250
concept.
into it. Yeah.
I'm not saying that they aren't going to finish it because I know they're still, and it's incrementally getting better, and I haven't checked it out in probably 2 years, but what we saw was the idea is fantastic and everybody wants the to fly their own version of Serenity and be Captain Reynolds and do whatever they want in space, or your own Rocinante, right? Like, awesome. Yeah, that's the game I want to play. Implementing that and making it fun, not tedious and not crappy, and work in the constraints of the hardware is proved to be the limiting factor. I don't think that there's I don't think there's a problem fundamentally with the concept. The concept is great, and I bet every single person in chat would love to have their own spaceship to fly around in a game, but making that fun and interesting is hard. It's really hard.
I don't think it's $800 million hard, but
yeah,
that's another.
Is that how much they've spent?
That's how much they've earned, for whatever it's worth. Let me see. My hangar. Hold on. I have 3 pages worth of things in my hangar, all from
last time I logged in, mine, like, they kept giving out rewards or something.
Yeah, I've got a bunch
for
of
a number
rewards.
of years. Yeah.
My first ship that I purchased was New Year's Eve 2013. I bought an Aurora LN.
Let me see if I can find.
I bought an Aurora 300i, and I think I bought a couple other ships after that.
Oh, you're gonna make me log
I know I
in.
bought a
I'm gonna
Hornet
compare.
at one point.
Here we go.
Yeah, there's my okay. Yeah, I've got a Hornet. I've got the VTOL vertical takeoff model.
Thank you, coffee.
Yep.
Oh, I gotta get my 2FA here.
Yeah, that was my phone a second ago delivering mine. It's been legit 5 years since I've logged into my RSI account.
I'm just glad it still works.
Right.
I haven't been off of it that long, but yeah, let's see my hangar. Oh wow, I've got a lot of pages of stuff. Yeah, I got the Freelancer in August of 2016.
Okay, yeah.
I remember playing it a little bit a couple years ago though, and had a good time with kind of like, oh, that's where the progress is going.
I remember when the VR came out, maybe 2018. I dove back in for a little while and was like, whoa, I can walk around my spaceships and I can sit down in the cockpit and think like, yeah, that was a cool 7 minutes. Totally worth the money I spent.
Is Dave? You said they've gotten 800 million.
$800 million.
I mean, that just makes me feel kind of sad.
Mm-hmm.
But like, what's the GTA 6 budget?
Like $2 billion.
Yeah, and that's a confined space, right? Like, I don't know. $2 billion to make a video game. You know what? If it's 1/4 as impressive as the hype is making it seem like it's gonna be, I'll happily pay for it.
Right.
And then I'll sit down.
Well, I already bought a ship, so better be able to damn well play it already.
Oh, I was
So,
talking about GTA 6's $2 billion.
oh
I
yeah,
was just
yeah.
saying
GTA 6 $2 billion. Yes.
yeah, I'll happily pay the $100 that I know that they're saying they're going to ask for it or whatever.
There are only a couple of things that I buy on day one, and they're usually Bethesda RPGs or Rockstar
Yeah.
third person games. So
I the thing that ticks me off is it still a thing? Is Red Dead Redemption still really expensive
yeah,
on Steam?
well, it's following the Nintendo
Yeah.
strategy of why would we ever
We'll
discount
just
it? People are still paying for it. Why would we ever discount it? That's just reducing the cost of our goods. Why would we do that?
yeah.
Here's the
I
product. It's worth $60. Are you going to buy it?
I haven't. That's another game that I like you said I've played. You said that you played something on every single platform. It's Cyberpunk
Yep.
on every platform that exists. Red Dead Redemption, the only thing I haven't done was go and finally buy it on PC because I think it came out on PS3.
Yeah.
Bought the PS3 to play Red Dead.
I bought an Xbox One to play Red Dead.
Played it. Had my fun with it. Didn't have fun anymore. Sold the PS3.
Yeah.
PS4 comes out. Oh, we've got a new Red Dead Redemption for the okay. Buy the PS4, play through it.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
I got out of console gaming. I enjoy PC gaming too much. I like the freedom of being able to screw around with the game when you get bored with things.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, what if this gun shot rubber ducks?
What if I could
So,
fly like Iron Man? And
yeah,
when I punched people, they instantly ragdolled with the force of 500 punches. Like, sign me
exactly.
up.
How is that not fun?
Right.
Oh no. My next topic was the site got hugged. I think Reddit picked it up.
I still have it cached, so as long as it loaded properly for me, I think I'm alright. No,
Ooh.
one of them is dead. Yeah, the oh wait,
You know, I'm getting like it's lacking all the CSS HTMLs coming through. Some of the
yeah,
actually some of the images are coming through if you right click
yeah.
and
I got
view
some of the
image.
images.
Okay, so I can super nerd out now.
Yeah.
Okay,
But
so
before you do, I'm gonna open my beer, and my beer is a special one.
oh,
Um,
okay.
So this is from AleSmith. And AleSmith, again, we're car guys. They have one of my all-time favorite stouts called the Speedway Stout. It's a 10%. It's absolutely fantastic. If you ever get a chance to snag one, absolutely snag one. This is a very special can. This is their Speedway Stout, aged in bourbon barrels with Vietnamese coffee.
Okay.
So
I might need to come try that.
So 13.6%.
Yeah, let's
And
go. Oh, man.
yeah.
That's dark.
Uh-huh.
Is that kind of like does it yeah. Do you feel like you eat a sandwich when you have that?
These are full meals typically. What's
Okay.
really fun is if you take a really good flashlight.
Wow.
Those
All
are
right.
that's my favorite test to do. If you would change the oil in your car because it's that dark, it's a really good stout.
Yeah.
So, I've been looking forward to this one all day.
I would be too. That looks fantastic.
Oh, that coffee on the end. Oh. I love a really good Vietnamese coffee. If you've ever had one of those, where it's the two layer, you get like the cream milk foam on top, and then you get like the straight espresso in the bottom. That is super reminiscent of that. very light bodied but very thick espresso flavor that you get in a Vietnamese coffee.
Yeah. Meanwhile, I'm over here on my weird
Your weird
blueberry.
blueberry
Uh,
ale. Yeah.
like,
You've chosen poorly.
the can was really cool. Look, if
It's
you
a
were into
really
like
good can.
ciders, if you were into ciders and stuff like that, like I could see you liking this.
Absolutely.
See, they've got breweries and tap rooms in Winnipeg, Manitoba, Kenora, Ontario, and War Road, Minnesota. Lake of the Woods Brewing Company. I'm not hating it. It's just not for me.
Yeah.
I, brewed with actual blueberries.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I believe you.
Blueberry is one that it is a very difficult flavor, I think, to mix well with a beer.
Mm.
Raspberry tends to go really well. Um, Coffee and like there's a number of different flavors that you can infuse into a beer that, depending on the style of beer, match perfectly. Blueberry for me is one. The only match for it is in a cider. The only match for blueberry in the sphere of alcohol is with apple.
Yeah.
Um, so I've seen a number of blueberry ales. I don't know that I've ever had one that I've liked, because it doesn't match with hops. It doesn't match with malt. It doesn't match with all the hallmarks of a pilsner or a lager or an ale or specifically a stout or anything else. Like blueberry always feels like the odd man out in that conversation.
Yeah. I wanted to like it. I it's not bad.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like it.
Mm-hmm.
I think yeah, it's weird. Anyways,
Anyway, Ian says, if you like
Vera.
pina colada.
Yeah. Oh, Ian.
And then Brandon chimes in and says Blake's Blue Raspberry Cider is great. I haven't had any of that, but I did pick up some of their three berry. It was strawberry, blackberry, and raspberry cider. I actually got a pack of that when I went and bought this. So maybe I'll report back on that one next week.
That'll be a good one. Oh.
All right. Time to nerd out. Not we can nerd out because the tech is so cool, right? Of
You know about my astrophotography background?
a little bit, yes.
Okay, in the after show I'll share some of my work in the Discord, so y'all have some time to come in there. But the Vera Rubin Observatory in Chile has absolutely goaded the deep sky fast astronomy speed run, and their mission. So while this image is absolutely stunning and far outweighs anything any amateur's ever done, their mission is actually discovery and tracking of the entire sky, which helps with asteroid identification.
Mm-hmm.
So their goal is to basically capture the entire night sky um, as often as possible, and we're talking like 30 plus terabytes a day of data being captured, like just insane amounts of information. And this is what drove me into tech and into storage. Was I was doing something very similar back in the day with amateur astrophotography, and I was running out of storage, and I was running out of fast storage that could process this data as quickly as possible. And these guys are actually doing it, and they're doing it on a scale that is unbelievable. um so I think in their first day they discovered like 2,000 asteroids on their first light, right? So first light in the telescope world is like, oh, I just bought a new telescope and I hooked a you know, a the camera up to it, and this is the first light that's coming through it. Well, these guys, holy crap, their first light is in amazing. They discovered 2,000 new asteroids, and they got some maps of the sky that are unbelievable. It really sucks because there was an interactive map that was up on their site, and the site, I believe, got Reddit hugged probably around 6 p.m. tonight, right
Yeah.
after I posted it to our show notes. But it's phenomenal what they're doing, and the tech they're doing it with is out of this world. Um, the camera, well, the size of the glass, right? The size of the aperture is like most of the size of like a soccer field
Yeah.
football pitch,
Yeah.
and so it's huge. Um, I gotta pull it up because I don't remember the stats off the top of my head. The camera is something like in the gigapixel range, and I think the f-stop is like, let's see,
Vera Rubin Observatory. Hold on. Specs.
it's like 3.2 gigapixel camera.
Yeah. 8.4 meter telescope, 3.2 gigapixel camera. Primary mirror is a ring shape with a 3.5 meter convex secondary mirror.
It's a donut.
Yeah.
So oh, hold on, let me see if I can get a link of the thing to send to you. Here we go.
Primary mirror is a ring shaped with a 3.5 meter convex secondary mirror and a 5 meter tertiary mirror. So if you're familiar with telescope design, like the two telescopes that you saw in stores, and I used to work at a camera store 25-ish years ago, and we sold telescopes. That was one of the things we did. And there's typically a refraction and a reflection telescope. And so refraction telescope is like a camera lens. That is the really long, skinny telescopes, and it works just like a camera lens. You shoot the telescope up, and it refracts the light down into a single point that meets a focal point in your eye. There's also a reflection telescope, which is the giant open telescopes. They're usually like this short, stubby, but very wide bodies that have a concave mirror in the bottom. And what they do is they take light, they bounce it off the mirror in the bottom, that reflects onto another mirror at the front of the telescope, and then that reflects back down. And so you triple the length of your tube by doing that. It's typically a blurrier image, at least as far as consumer telescopes go, but you get 3 times the focal length for your buck. This one is using 3 different reflections, one of which is a ring mirror, and then 2 concave mirrors to reflect that image back. So it's quadrupling its focal length, but on like an 8 meter lens already.
The 3 ratios on this glass. The first one is 8.4 meters.
Yeah.
At f1.18.
Jeez.
The second one, hold my beer. The second one is 3.4 meters at f1.
Okay.
And then the final one is a 5 meter at f.83.
Can I just say,
so fucking cool, man.
Can I just say, from a camera nerd standpoint, a 50 mil f1.8, your nifty 50 that you buy for every camera that you've ever bought. I have 6 of them in this office. I've got so many nifty 50s, it's not even funny. They are a dime a dozen, but also equally worth their weight in gold because they are so good. And that is 50 millimeter f1.8. If you can get me an f1.4, I'll give you $500, no questions asked, regardless of condition. You get me one of Canon or Sony's f1.2s, you ask me where you want it, and I'll give it to you where you want it. There's also some of the legendary cameras, like Canon has an f1.0. Nikon has the 0.95. The old school 1988 Nikkor lens. And the things I would do to get my hands on either of those are like $5,000 lenses. And what are they? They're 20% better than the nifty 50s that are the F12s. Like, they're not that much better, but holy crap, the tech involved and the manufacturing involved into making those.
So for comparison, my old setup used to be 540 millimeter at f1.9,
Yeah.
which was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And these guys are doing 5 meters at f.83.
Yeah. Your typical reflective telescope, which is similar in concept to these because this is a triple reflection. A typical reflection telescope is a 2 reflection. Those are typically f5, maybe f7. For like a consumer off the shelf one.
Relatively slow.
If you ever got a mirror lens, a mirror telephoto lens, those are f8. It's similar design where you have the concave mirror at the bottom and then the single mirror up front to reflect it back. Yeah.
And let's not overshadow the 3.2 gigapixel.
Yeah, the sensor on the back end.
It's comprised of unique or discrete I believe they're the 62 megapixel Sony.
Okay.
But they're
arranged in an array.
Right.
Right.
I sent you a link actually to the well, that's the optics. That's the optical with the f-stop.
There you go. Yeah.
And then I'll send you one more right now let's just grab the link to the wiki of the array of the sensors. Yep, they're running 30-second exposures.
Yeah.
That's what you do with fast optics. You go quick. I would do 15 to 30 regularly. 64 centimeter is the focal plane. Group 5 to 5 grid 3 by 3. Here's what's incredible, right? The sheer mass of this thing and the speed that they're moving through the sky at night is insane. So it's got like a high pressure oil plate that it can spin on. One of the biggest things that you run into with this stuff is when you turn that sensor on and when you start pulling the sensor for the light data, right? It's got to pull for 30 seconds. The stars are not in one spot. They move.
Right.
Because the planet is spinning.
Yeah.
So
because we're moving, they're moving, everything's moving.
Yeah. So you have to counteract for the rotation of the Earth, right?
Yeah.
And so your motor that's doing that can't induce vibration, but we're doing this with a, umpteen some odd pound, 1,000-pound, whatever, gigantic telescope. I had an 11-inch Celestron that I had problems keeping the damn thing pointed, and a car could drive by.
Right.
Well, yeah, a car could drive by down the street, 100 feet away, and it would vibrate the image because it's that sensitive, right? So these guys are doing this with just on a whole nother level.
Here's a popsicle stick. Okay, so we'll give some context to what vibration does to an image. Okay, if I move the popsicle stick just ever so slightly at my finger, you can barely see my finger wiggling. However, out here at the focal point of what I'm trying to capture, it's wild. Like I'm moving less than a millimeter over here, and the difference is 6 to 8 to 10 millimeter on the other side. Now extend that 40,000 miles. and you have the moon. Now extend that billions of miles and you have the stars. And you understand what a 1 millimeter vibration can do to a capture image that you're trying to get.
Yeah, and as the zoom increases, it gets so much worse,
Hmm.
and yeah, the just the overall, I wish I knew a little bit more about it so we could go
Sorry,
super deep dive.
238,900
Yeah,
miles to the moon.
yeah. Oh, I guess Ian knows what miles are, but
I was soft
pounds are
estimating.
cheap for him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, yeah, this is cool tech. You guys should check it out.
Yeah.
Actually, looking at it, Scott Manley did a video on it tonight that looks really good. It's yeah, check it out, and hopefully the site gets unhugged. Oh, it's working! It's working! Go, Jeff, go!
Oh, hold on.
Pull up the interactive one.
Oh, it's back. Oh, that's funny. My YouTube is dying, but my interactive image is back up. So we have this.
There we go.
Oh, and it's raw data. It's sensor per sensor. Oh,
No, yeah. It's a sweep,
yeah.
so it's yeah. You can
Uh,
zoom in.
so no, hold
You
on,
can.
because I had this image up for a second, and so you can see the individual sensors, the individual 62 megapixel sensors that are in here. Um, Now let's go back to this and let's fade to an edge. Those are the 62 millimeter or 62 megapixel.
It said 62 millimeter. I didn't get a firm. They're either the 16 megapixel or 62. I would imagine they would have went with the 62 IMX.
Actually, the 16, depending on that, might actually give you better images for a 30-second exposure because of noise.
Yeah.
They might have opted for that.
Well, you're shooting it in monochromatic and you're shooting it with different filters,
Yeah,
so you're not shooting in straight color. So it's going to be monochromatic. I would love to figure out exactly what sensor.
yeah.
Let's see. Go to a camera. Huh. There we go.
Oh,
Yeah, you can
geez.
just keep. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
jeez.
now you get it. Now you get it. Yeah.
That is the epitome of I understand it now. The
Hmm.
level of shock I just kind of went through.
Yeah. You just gotta let it load for a second.
Dude. Dude.
Uh,
Let's check this guy out. There we go.
uh pull back when you're done with this one, pull back out. You got to see some of these galaxies. So go up to the top, further up. You're going to M the okay, so you see the cloudy foggy one, the one your mouse is over, and the cloudy foggy one to the right. Look at both of those up close because you can start to see like the differences in types of galaxies
So
where
the
there's
so
like
the
ones that are yeah, go look at these ones first. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. They're kind of like cloudy and like
Yeah.
and then just I mean even just keep panning to the right, you'll see some of the ones that are more well defined with the hot spots and
Oh yeah. Yeah, we got all these guys up here. Oh, we got a little spiral galaxy way down over here.
zoom in. So you see all the little red dots and stuff?
Yeah.
That's because those ones are so far away they're red shifted.
Yeah. And that's that big.
The moon on this is like uh about the size of your viewport right now.
Jeez. Oh, check that guy out. The twin arm spiral
Yeah.
with the numerous spirals behind him. Oh my gosh. Jeez.
Yeah. So mega nerd out on
Yeah.
all the stuff that's just out there.
I'll check him out. Oh, that's cool.
You know, I bet those people that live in that galaxy buy RTX 5050s.
I bet they do, and I bet they don't complain about the 8 gigabyte
Yeah.
limit either.
No, they're like, it's fine.
Yeah.
I did find, and I'll send it to you, the information about
Look
the
at those
camera.
nerds thinking AI is still a path to the future.
Yeah. So 16 so it is 16 megapixel sensors. There's a thing on the RAF.
I know
It's
my
it's
tech.
not it's not officially on paper the IMX, but yeah.
Right. Sony
Um
manufactured a certain 62 millimeter 16 megapixel sensor that may or may not have also been used in medium format stuff.
I am sure somebody else had to pick it up, and there's chain of custody, and it's probably aerospace grade
I'm
things
sure.
that,
Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, I did just send you the link to the sensor information. I'm glad the site came back up because I was excited to talk about this one.
And as Ian points out, Samsung uses Moon AI replacement too. Do you remember that story from a couple years ago?
Yeah, yeah, I saw that.
For those who aren't in
That
the know, if you have a Samsung Galaxy phone and you take a picture of the moon, it will replace the moon via AI
Yep.
in your pictures with the picture of the known moon, which is the moon that faces us. Um, so if you're taking a picture of the moon, all you're doing is AI recreating the moon as we know it to be, not the picture that you're actually seeing. It's great.
Oh, Samsung.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I experienced something interesting this week. So I had a dear friend of mine, spouse broke his phone,
Uh huh.
Galaxy S20 FE. Is that a thing? I don't know. I'm not in the Android world.
Yeah.
Um, you can't draw the pattern with a mouse on the lock screen.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah, that was my first. I was like, oh, I'm gonna go. Like, they're like, oh, the screen's not working, and I'm like, oh, I I have a
USB-C
little
mouse. Here we go. Yeah.
plug it into my Dell dock. It'll pop up on the screen. My iPhone does that. Here we
Yeah.
go. Can't draw the pattern on it. So you know what I did? And I think I'm real clever with this, and I'm waiting. I want someone in chat to tell me I'm stupid and just
Ooh.
wasted $50.
Ooh.
Um, I did some research, and that Samsung launcher is looking for a touch signal in order to do it. That's why you
Uh-huh.
can't do it with a mouse because a mouse sends discrete point,
Right.
point, 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 point.
Sends HID inputs rather than
Yeah.
yeah.
For $50, I got a 10-point multi-touch USB screen that's like 8 inches or something, that it was marketed as like a PC peripheral.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna OTG that son of a gun into this phone and try and get it to unlock.
I do have some graphics tablets which probably have the same driver base.
Yeah,
So they would probably work. Yeah.
it's supposed to be, if you have an Android phone and you have a touch external display and you can test it and yell at me in the after show and tell me if I just wasted money and I can cancel this order or not,
I'm kind
please
of
tell me.
I have it across the room. I could probably tell you.
That would be okay. That might be a good after show topic.
Yeah. I'm still using straight pin. I don't have the blah, 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 blah. Yeah, I don't have the pattern
Tim
recognition
Apple
in.
Tim Apple scans my face and
Yeah.
I just
I go
I
through airports, so I have biometrics disabled. It asks for my pin when I try to unlock it.
oh,
I
okay.
don't even have the thumbprint enabled right now. Same with my laptop. So call me paranoid.
Can I also say shut up, Ian?
Yeah.
Yeah, the I'm I don't know. Android, I flip-flopped in the past. I'm too old now.
Yeah.
Stuck in my ways, man.
Yeah, I Apple pissed me off sometime in 2018 and I swore off iPhones and I'm never going back. I've only flopped the one time. So I was a Palm OS user circa
Uh
2002 through like 2008. And what finally got me was the iPhone 3G. And I went, okay, let me try the iPhone because I had my actual mechanical keyboard, you know, on my Palm
You say
Trio, and
you say you were a Palm user, but were you that much of a Palm user?
yes. Yes.
Okay.
I still know all my graffiti inputs, so, and I'd much prefer those to a touchscreen keyboard still.
Okay, you're stretching it now.
But yeah, no, I was a Palm OS guy. Switched over to iPhone in 2008 with the iPhone 3G, and went, all right, I could live with this, and and was an iPhone user until 2008, like almost 10 years. And I had the 6S Plus, and the battery lasted 18 months, and then the battery started puffing up on me and expanding and wanting to explode. And of course, I was on a 3-year contract for the phone because that was the style at the time. And went, well, it's gonna cost me $250 to replace the battery at an Apple store. The closest Apple store is almost 2 hours from me. That's just asking for trouble. I'm going to drive up there. They're going to say, oh, have you tried this yet? Even though the battery is literally bulging the back of the case off the phone. And so I went, $30. I can buy a new battery on Amazon. It'll be here tomorrow. I can swap it out. It's an easy swap. It's 2 screws on the bottom. Back panel pops off. Boom, Bob's your uncle. Done. So I did that. That didn't stop the problem. The phone was still overheating when charging. It didn't reach a full charge even with a brand new battery in it. And so at that point, I took it into the Apple store. I made an appointment. I drove the 2 hours to my Apple store. To which, when the Apple store found out that I had replaced the battery in this phone, they treated it like a live bomb situation.
I mean, what we know about lithium now.
I mean, yeah, but so is every other phone. Yeah. Like, don't pretend your chemistry is that much better. Because it's not. Which is why my iPhone popped up in the first place. Your phone was a danger. This battery's fine. So I simply said, hey, what's the problem with my phone? It's overheating when it's charging. And they went, and the experience was awful overall. I'm not going to recount everything here because I've done that like multiple times on the show. But I said I did replace the battery. That didn't solve the issue, and now I'm here and I'm trying to get you guys to swap out the board, charging ports, whatever needs done. And he goes, whoa, 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 and he drops the phone and he backs away from the desk and he goes, I can't operate on this phone if I know it doesn't have OEM hardware in it. You know, the battery could have come from anywhere. It could have been assembled by some kids in Indonesia for all I know, and who knows what their chemistry is. And you know, if that goes supernova, and I'm quoting here, this is not hyperbole.
Oh, no.
This is not. I'd be taking the lives of not only the people who work in the store, but all of the customers in the store into my hands if I disassembled this phone and something went wrong.
Or we could, put it in the bathroom sink.
Verbatim. At which point I had driven 2 hours to that store and waited 2.5 hours for that line to be uttered from his mouth, and I lost my shit. I said, oh, so if you touch my phone, it is going to level the city block and we're going to burn every fucker in this place. And he goes, sir, man, please don't swear. There's children around.
Oh, man. I got thrown. This is probably TMI. I got thrown out of an Apple store one time for concealed carry. Different time, different place. Mm-hmm. But I just realized we should have been doing it this way the whole time, because now it looks like we're talking to each other.
Mm-hmm. Do you realize the way I have my camera fixed is if I look at you, look at my screen and I'm looking at you, I'm looking at you. And if I'm looking at my web browser, I'm looking forward and I'm talking to the audience. And then I can look at you and we can talk, and then I can I've been doing this for 388 shows.
I know you're so much better at it than I am. Speaking of explosives and chains of custody, Boeing
Oh no.
just got this whole video is gonna get taken down tomorrow. It's
Here
fine.
we go. Here we go. Local story for me because this was PDX. This was Portland
I
International
tried.
Airport.
See, I come up with good stories for the show, man.
That's right. I didn't realize the final report had been written. I've actually been waiting on this to find out. So I haven't read this yet. So Jordan, please take it away.
So, on January 5th, 2024, it was a evening in Oregon, and a plug door blew out of a 737-900, not the Max.
Yep.
It was the left mid-exit door and is classified as an in-flight separation. Many of you probably remember the memes. I certainly do. As somewhat of an aviation buff myself, I followed the story very closely because I do a lot of flying. And, you know, planes start blowing parts off,
There
you
was
pay
no feeling
attention.
in the world like knowing I had a flight scheduled for February 1st on a 737 Max out of PDX.
Yeah, it was an so
I guess there's no
I
safer time to fly after an airline disaster from the airport you're taking off in the plane that took off from there.
they just looked at everything. It's
They
gonna be
just
okay.
tightened every bolt. There is no better time to fly.
The funny thing is you're not supposed to, you know, right after a maintenance period is the worst time for a flight thing.
Yeah.
But you know, I had some main points, talking points that I went through and read, and you invited me on the show, and then I saw the report. I was like, I should write these down and see what Jeff has to say
Yeah.
about it. So, a $250 billion company forgot to install four bolts. What is
Yep.
that really saying?
Yep. Maybe they should have AI scan with cameras and tell them if all the bolts are installed.
Here's a thing where we need to put the Hertz
Take a
scanner
page out of
not at the
Hertz's
rental car,
playbook.
not at the rental car counter, okay?
Right.
It needs to go
But in
into the
industrial
airplane
automation
hangar.
and checks and
Yeah.
balances, it needs to be in place. This is where AI makes sense, not for charging me for a 1-inch scuff on my wheels. And we've come full circle.
And on that bombshell, it's it's
Why
process
do you get to
failure,
be
right?
Jeremy? And on that bombshell. Yeah,
I think we need Ian to weigh in on that.
yeah.
Who's who?
Ian would be Captain Slow. Like I'm totally cool with
He's
being
he's not tall enough for that.
yeah, but I feel I could be either Hammond or Jeremy. I'm not Captain Slow, I can tell you that much. But I'm way too tall to be Hammond.
See, in a theoretical tech Top Gear, I think I fit the part of Jeremy too well of overweight, drinks too much, and I mean he smokes like a chimney, but I don't do that anymore. So
You ever punched anyone for an in-flight meal?
punched? No.
Ian says you calling
There's
me a hamster. Jeff
yeah.
is slow, Jordan is Clarkson. Oh my good sir, I will fight you on that.
Oh man. But one of the other things that was outlined in the report was 10 years of compliance issues, and
Mm-hmm.
the FAA went ahead and waved it off.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine if a manufacturer had 10 years of RMA failures and then it was just bricked anyway, and it was just like you'd be out of business, or at least trending on Reddit and Tech Jesus.
Right.
Like, nah, FAA, we're good.
Yeah.
And then the fact that nobody who was on duty knew how to properly open and replug the door.
Yeah.
Like, I've never.
Meanwhile, Zyla Foxlin has issues with her IUD implant, and she's put on a no-fly list.
Yeah.
Like if you want to like
Just
apples to oranges comparison of like okay within the FAA.
uh, and then I don't know. I think the CVRs should be longer than 2 hours. I get it. Like the cockpit is kind of a bit of a sacred place.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I don't really, I mean, maybe I don't know how the airlines work necessarily internally, but I'm pretty sure they're not pulling CVRs to be like, oh, you guys had a conversation about cheeseburgers below 10,000 feet when it was supposed to be a sterile cockpit. You're getting, remedial training. Like, I don't think that that's what they're doing.
Right.
It doesn't seem like that big of a thing to in Greece to have, let's do 2 weeks of data availability. So if there is
Yeah.
an incident like the Air India thing, and which I'm not up to date on, um, I've heard the latest there was a dual engine failure or something that was confirmed,
Yeah, dual
but
engine failure, but also checks that were not made for uh, ensuring that if there was a failure, like their flaps were not deployed properly. There were a couple other things that they did not go through proper procedures for a takeoff.
yeah,
And then the failure occurred, and because they hadn't gone through proper procedures,
yeah.
the devastation happened rather than we were able to land again.
I was taking a couple of friends up in a 182 in my 182,
Mhm. But I say
and
this
I was
completely as not a pilot, so
yeah, I am, so I've got a slight bit of kind of context, I guess,
yeah.
in how these things play out, and we were on the ground and everything was fine, and then um so this had, for those playing along at home, it was the Garmin G1000 glass cockpit
Mhm.
in a Cessna 182. So it's a Toyota, Camry of the skies. It's spacious, but not too much, and it's single engine four seat plane. Nice glass, so you get all the information. And during the run up, I noticed a slight blip. A couple of the instruments turned to boxes, and the it didn't really register as, this is going to be something catastrophic, but it was like, huh, that's interesting. But also when you're running up and you're doing your instrument checks, you're doing your pre-flight checks, there's a list of things that you check to see to make sure everything's good.
Mhm.
So this didn't come up on that list. It was like, oh, it's a quick blip. Okay, maybe the plane's vibrating, there's a lot of stuff going on. Okay, cool. Move on. We go to takeoff, we're on the takeoff roll. I rotate the airplane, and I within 5 seconds of leaving the ground, startle factor, there's plenty of research on this, but startle factor is a real thing, and it's like 5 seconds or so.
Yeah.
Um, Within 5 seconds of leaving the ground, I had lost almost all of my primary flight instruments on the glass, and I had never experienced that before outside of, sitting on the ground and checking different systems, and you fail a system to just make sure that the backups are working. Um, so your brain takes 5 seconds to realize what's going on, then another handful of seconds to understand what's going on, or what the action items are to where is this headed. And I'll never forget, because it was my two friends' first time flying in a small plane, and one of them sitting in the right seat and one of them sitting in the back, and my screens all just go black. And I'm like, oh, well, all right. Okay, engine's running good. I can hear that. I can feel that. Plane's still flying. Okay, well, we can get to safety. But
Yeah.
I can't imagine. I've never had an engine failure on takeoff. I've had engine issues in flight that have forced an emergency landing,
Mhm.
but I've never had an engine failure on takeoff. Where I'm going with the story is um just getting an instrument failure of something that isn't critical to the safety of the flight, as far as it was a beautiful clear day. I could turn around and just do a lap in the pattern and get back to the runway and land fine. It was a
Hmm.
magnetometer. There was a sensor way off the left wing that senses magnetic heading and like one, maybe two other things. I'm not an avionics technician, but the
Yeah.
sensor basically just failed.
Yeah.
And so it blanked out a number of instruments. And that startle factor of holy crap was next thing you know, ATC's calling me and they're like, "What are you doing? November, blah blah blah. What are you
Hmm.
doing?" And I'm like, "I need to come back immediately. Electrical failure, electrical problems." Declared the emergency, came back around. Declaring an emergency as a pilot, for any of you that don't know, isn't a big deal. It's not.
Right.
There's no paperwork that has to happen. There's nothing. They might ask you. They might be like, "Oh, like what's the nature of the emergency?" My alternator went out is not paperwork and stuff. My engine went out and I'm going to put it in the dirt. That's a bit of you're going to have some paperwork to deal with on that one.
Yeah.
But in general, it's in aviation, the mentality is better safe than sorry, as in we would rather you have the plane on the ground and people not hurt. Bend the metal if you have to, don't hurt people.
Yeah.
So for these people with this Air India flight, when I looked at kind of the initial stuff, it was just like, holy crap. Do you know about the Windows version of that?
I do.
Okay.
So Space Trader is open source,
Yeah.
and yeah, you can. Um, so hold on here. I'm gonna. Oops.
I'm gonna blow Ian's mind in a second here. But to finish my story, the Air India thing is horribly tragic. And for them to not have gone through some of the critical safety checks on the ground or skipped maintenance or whatever.
So for those
God, I love that
wondering,
game so much.
yeah, Jordan texted me and said, "You're a Palma West guy. Do you know of the best game ever?" And that's Space Trader. And I still have the emulator on my phone, so I can play the Palma West version of Space Trader. And I wanted to make sure that Jordan knew that this is a live running version of Space Trader that I can
Yeah.
absolutely still play on my phone.
I have an iPhone version as well, for the
Yeah.
record. I don't know if it's currently downloaded
Yeah,
on
this
this
is the
one,
full
but I do.
emulated
Yeah.
version. So,
Yeah. I like the Windows version's pretty good too.
yeah. There's a
Um,
Steam
I
OS version, or there's a Steam game as well. It's called something different, but it's essentially the same game, and I'm trying to remember what that was.
okay. Um, yeah, aviation's just such a sticky thing, and it can get you so fast. If you're not paying attention. But Ian asks a great question. Can you open carry on a plane?
No.
So I not only have shot out of an airplane, I've shot out of helicopters, hog hunting. We used to take the door off of my buddy's 172 and take it up and go just do circles over the field and get rid of the
Yep.
wild hogs with high powered rifles.
Yep.
Assault rifles, as you would probably call them.
Yeah. Commercial flight? No. No.
Don't do that one. I've flown with my guns a number of times, though.
Yes. Yeah.
You just check them. You check them in the bag.
Yeah. You check them in the bag. You declare them. You make sure you have TSA approved locks, and there are a number.
TSA is not allowed to open the case.
Exactly. They are not allowed to open the case. They are allowed to request you to open the case so they can inspect.
With law enforcement present.
With law enforcement present, so that it's basically a three-party system that has to be in place, and that ensures everyone's safety. Not only TSA's, but yours and everyone else. But yes, you can check your weapons. You can fly with them. TSA will approve them. The tricky part about flying with weapons is you need to make sure that your weapon is legal both on the departing and arriving locations, as well as any emergency locations that you may encounter. Because if you're flying from, say, Arizona to Pennsylvania, and your plane gets rerouted and you have to land in Ohio, you are now subject to Ohio's gun laws. And so there are stipulations for, please keep my guns in your custody, put them on my flight when we get there, and everyone's kosher. But yeah, there are things around that are complications. But other than that, yeah, you're allowed to check guns. You're allowed to fly with guns, just not in your possession.
Yeah.
But also, it's like a 3-party system whenever you're flying with them.
Yeah, it's a padlocked. I trying to see if I had it in here. I have like a large ammo can that's got a padlock hole in it.
Yeah.
That's what I used.
Yep.
But I used to do a lot of 3-gun competition, long range competition stuff. So traveling traveling with firearms is not foreign to me.
Yeah.
But yeah. The only thing that really screwed with my head with that report on the door was they made a call out in there that if there was a lap held child, that would have been bad because you would have
Yeah.
been able to hang on to them if it happened in your seat.
Yep.
And I've thought about this a couple of times. I've only done it 2 flights.
Yep.
It was to visit family in Canada from Phoenix. Um, Lapped my 2-year-old, and the thought crossed my mind because when we would fly in our plane, they would go in the car seat, and the car seat would be seat belted to the
Right.
airframe.
Right.
On a commercial flight, if you hit something on the ground or you fall out of the air, I mean, go on a roller coaster and try and hold on to a watermelon and tell me how good of a time you're going to have.
Right.
You're not.
There is a 1% chance you're going to maintain control of that child.
Yeah.
I have thought about this a number of times as well. I have 3 kids. My youngest is very highly on the spectrum, nonverbal, and we've had to fly with him a couple of times. And he gets his own seat. He gets his own car seat. We've always had to do that simply because of the child that he is. But there has been a number of other times that I've flown with my other kids on my lap.
Yeah.
And it's been actually many years since my kids have flown. Like I don't think my kids have flown since COVID. But you know, prior to 2020, like, yeah, if we needed to go to Kansas to visit relatives, yeah, it's me and my wife and my 2 kids, and they would sit on our laps because they were, you know, 1 and 4 years old, and it wasn't a big deal. But anymore, man.
I suppose it just kind of highlights maybe a complacency,
Yeah.
Jesus, of the general safety that's considered in aviation that doesn't get, highlighted, but also, there's if you're in a scenario that's serious, I mean,
Yeah.
uh,
I have
it
always
puts
I have always been questionable of aviation safety versus passenger comfort versus as much steerage in cargo as possible, as someone who is 6'4" and never fits in an airline seat properly.
Have you seen the semi-standing seats with the fart blaster zones?
Of course. Yeah. Yeah. The stacked airline seats. Yes, I've seen those.
Yeah.
Like, as someone who doesn't fit on a plane anyway, and you're trying to take away what limited space I already have, I love flying to Michigan because height is a protected class in Michigan, which means I can request the exit row and they have to give it to me if I'm flying to Michigan.
That's epic.
They cannot deny my request for an exit row if I fly to Michigan. It's one of the only states that's the rule. Being tall is not a protected class, which means you get put where you get put. And I fly Alaska primarily because Alaska has the most legroom of any domestic carrier. Ask me how I know. It's because I'm 6'4" and I've tried to cram my way into every single flight that's possible. Southwest, American, Delta, whoever. And the only flight I fit comfortably in with at least 1 inch of legroom between my knees and the seat in front of me when I'm seated in a halfway comfortable position is Alaska. We flew American Airlines coming home from Taipei with my knees touching the seat in front of me for 15 and a half hours.
That sucks. I'm
It was awful.
6 foot on the nose,
Mm-hmm.
and I'd like to think I have a very proportional torso to leg ratio.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I mean, I've been on flights where it's like if my knee was an inch longer, it'd be.
I'm all legs,
I mean,
so
even
my
I
knees are
have
4 inch
problems.
longer.
Yeah, even if I have, even like I've been on some flights, like some of the discount carriers that I used to have to fly,
Yeah.
where I'm like uncomfortable, and usually my ass times out before anything else.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and yeah, I don't know. The standing one, if you only operated that on, like a 30-minute flight, like a commuter from like, Houston to San Antonio or Houston to
Yeah.
Austin or something like that, like
I,
maybe.
I'm okay on like a 2 hour flight with whoever. And so, like, I go to San Jose 3, 4, 5 times a year because that's where all the tech companies are. And I'm in Portland, so it's an hour and 45-minute flight. And so it's like, yeah, put me on whoever, I'll be fine. Like,
Yeah.
if I can sit in an Uber for an hour, I can sit in a plane for an hour 45 with my knees touching. That's okay.
Yeah.
But if I've got to fly to Dallas or, Chicago or Minneapolis or Louisville or Atlanta or places that I also go to quite frequently, if you're gonna fly me on someone that's not Alaska, you are buying me a first class ticket because I'm 6'4" and I'm not spending 6 hours of my life like that. And that's just
I
the
think
cost of doing business with me.
How tall is Wendell?
Wendell's the same height as I am. He's 6'4".
Is he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's six.
Yeah,
He's 6'4" and
he's
he's
a
a little
big dude too.
Yeah, he's 6'4" and he's a little huskier than I am. So yeah. Techno Tim is 6'5". I think he's the only one really in the tech space that's taller than me. There's also Luke from Linus Tech Tips. He's also sitting right at my eye level at 6'4". Yeah, there's a lot of us in the tech sphere that are.
I was trying to
there.
think who else is
Jay's
giant.
2 cents is
Jay's a big
6'3".
dude. Yeah.
Josh, if any of you remember Fractal Josh from back in the day, he's 6'5". He's an inch taller than I am. Yeah, all of us have to deal with these kinds of things. It's amazing how many of us in the tech space are super human beings.
Ian's on a rant about height right now.
Ian says, "I'll stay with Linus at 5'6".
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we'll keep getting you the booster seats when we go out to dinner.
Is it a requirement to be 6 foot something to be a tech YouTuber? Yeah, basically. Unless you're Kyle. Kyle's the only other one that I really know of that's like substandard or sub 6 foot. Jeff Geerling is 6 foot. Tom Lawrence is 6 foot or 6'1". Yeah, we're all up there.
Well, I guess Ian already showed it, but he's got his game show ready to go. That was pretty well matched. I remember framing that shot and being like, "Oh, the heads are."
Do you know why? It's because all three of us were 6'4",
like 6'3", 6'4". Yeah.
I went to 45 Drives 2 years ago, and it was me, Techno Tim, Jeff Geerling, Raid Owl, Wendell, and Tom Lawrence was supposed to be there, but he couldn't attend that year. The average height of us was 6'2".
Oh, I remember that. I was supposed to be there.
Yeah, and so we said, were they drafting YouTubers or a basketball team?
Yeah. Yeah, George is about my height, about 6 foot tall, maybe a little less.
Yeah. Yeah, Jay is about 6'4" as well. Yeah, Jay, me, Wendell, Fractal Josh, we're all right in that upper 6'3", 6'4", 6'5" range. Like
Yeah.
we're all interchangeable kind of in that space.
And then there was Rhett who was flexing, trying to flex on
Yeah.
height.
Yeah, Rhett is 6'1". Rhett's not short either. But what's really
Yeah.
funny is he gets around the rest of us and he's like, son of a...
Yeah. It's like, I'm not even tall anymore.
I'm short for a basketball player. I am taller than Damian Lillard, I will have you know. Yeah, Paul is 6 foot. I think Paul is an even 6 foot, maybe 6'1". He's up there. He's not in the upper echelon, but he's in the conversation. Paul always seemed pretty short. Paul is not short. Paul's like 6 foot. I want to say Paul is 6 foot even.
Steve's only like 5'10".
Yeah. Steve's.
I recall.
Steve's a
being
few inches
taller than
shorter.
Steve.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Kyle's the odd man out at like 5'6". Oh, actually, hold on. I think I have.
Trying to think of y'all doing anything athletic is hilarious. Maybe that's the next conference trade show meetup video collab.
Hold on.
All of us try and play basketball.
I have an image. Here it is. There we go. So that was from Taipei.
Was that this year?
That was this year. Yeah. So Paul and Pedro are a little out of proportion here, as they're standing slightly behind where I am, and it's a wide angle lens, so they seem further away than they are. Paul probably comes up to at least my nose, as does Pedro. But that's Mark from Scattervolt, and then Kyle and Mark are standing on the same plane as I am with the camera, and so you can see they're basically even with my chin. And then Paul and Pedro are slightly taller than them. So if you wanted some perspective, here's some perspective. And then there's also the great image from my hotel room.
Oh yeah, that was
the hallway outside
short.
my hotel. Yeah.
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 Told you we should have shot in my room.
Your room did have taller ceilings than mine. Yeah, Adam Patrick Murray is 6'4". Yeah, Adam Patrick Murray is the same height as I am. He's one I look dead in the eyes with. Freaking giants, yeah. All of us are. It's funny.
Yeah. Speaking of Taipei, I'm heading back over there in a couple weeks to go do some stuff.
That's right.
I'm curious. Let's see. Oh, it's even hotter and swampier than it was.
Yeah. Yeah, it's weird as the year gets later that it does that, right?
Oh, man. We had, 2 days of just swamp?
We had 2 days of, 92 Fahrenheit and 95% humidity, which is actually cooler than normal for what it is. Like, normally it averages, like 95 or about 38 C there.
Yeah.
It touched 38 C on one day. Most of the time it was 36. And then we had a couple of days that were in the 32, 34-ish range. The day we left, it was cooler in Taipei than it was at home, although it was also still 95% humidity, and it was 15% humidity at home. So, yeah, the day we left, I think it was 22 C. Was that Saturday?
Yeah, that was a really good trip.
Yeah.
But man, the weather was wild because I was there for 15, 14 days.
Yeah, you were there for 14. I was there for 10.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, there was rain, heat, and this is giving Florida a run for its money for some of the stickiness.
Yeah. Out of curiosity, do you all have short spouses or partners? I am a full foot taller than my wife.
I know my wife's 5'8".
Yeah, my wife is 5'4". Um, my 12-year-old daughter is 5'8".
Oh, that's funny.
My 12-year-old daughter is sneaking up on me.
Yeah, they do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm definitely hitting the point where it's like, crap.
Yeah.
We're taking a trip together tomorrow, actually, so it'll be kind of exciting.
Yeah. Nice.
Gonna see all the sights, do the things.
Nice.
It's like a pseudo impromptu. We've got some business that has to be taken care of. We have to go to without getting into details, it's just
Yeah, yeah.
uh, passport office stuff.
Okay, yeah.
So we're gonna go. It's a couple hours away, so
Mm-hmm.
we're gonna do that. And then I was like, I gotta. It has to be taken care of in relatively quick order. And it's like, oh, okay, well, let's just go do it this week because next week's gonna suck. And then,
Yeah, but while we're there, why don't we spend 2 days traveling and
yeah,
taking in the
that's the
sights?
plan.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So
I get you.
we sat down on the phone and planned a whole thing and booked hotels and it's fun. It's fun.
Yep.
And then it's like, you know, hopefully in doesn't turn into one of those in 3 years she hates dad and teenage girl thing, but we'll
Right.
see.
Yep.
Don't need it from her. I get enough of it from Ian Cuttress.
Right. Ian says he's taller than his wife by a few inches. So see it. We all marry shorter. It happens.
It happens.
It happens. I do have an ex-girlfriend who was 6'1", so we would have made some basketball babies like that. That's what would have happened there.
That could have been, I mean, you could have just had like instead of tech tube, you could have just been, sports dad.
I could have been a sports dad. Like, great.
Gotta get them genetics going.
Yep. Ian says shorter and younger. My wife is actually 5 months older than I am. So we like to swap off the because I said so for an excuse of like I asked you to do something. Well, why? Because I said so. And when she's older, she gets to say because I said so. But then when we're the same age, it defaults to me as the husband because I said so. Like, and I will own that misogyny. Because
it's funny in jest.
It's funny in jest. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. When she's older, she gets the authority, but but then I got to rein her in the other 7 months.
I'm just trying to picture that conversation. I need this new GPU for reasons.
Yeah.
For work. It's for work.
It's for work.
No, you can't have it.
Yeah.
Because I said so.
Well, what month is it?
Yeah.
If we're between March and October, that's my domain.
Just calling all the shots.
Respect Jeff's authority.
I like this. I've started rewatching some South Parks with my oldest recently, and it's been an adventure. There's some stuff that I'm like, crap, I forgot about this shit.
Oh yeah, especially some of the like season 1 through 3 stuff where they were like, we have no filter because we're on Comedy Central. You guys.
Yeah.
So I recently upgraded my 12-year-old's Plex account from older kid to teen, and so now she has all of the PG-17 and younger.
Okay.
Or PG-13 and younger.
Okay.
And so all of a sudden she got access to all the rated T TV shows like American Dad and Futurama and Bob's Burgers and like all the good stuff. And so she's been going through them. Mm-hmm. And My sister also lives with us, and we love watching American Dad. And one of the things that we love doing to each other is doing some of the Roger bits back and forth to each other. And so
Okay.
I'll say like a random comment, and then my sister will go, "Jordan, no!" And tell them how you killed our baby, Amanda. And so we'll just like spout random crap at each other. And now my oldest has started getting in on that joke.
Oh God.
It's so funny to you spout a random comment, and from the side of the house you didn't expect, you hear, "Jordan, no!"
Oh. Kids are magical.
Oh, it's so good. What's really great is when your kids beat you to the punchline, and I never expected that to happen.
Yeah, that throws me off every time.
Yeah, it's like, that's a good joke, and I'm really upset you made it there before I did.
Yeah, very proud of you.
Yes,
good job. There was one, I can't. There's something, I don't know. In the last couple of days,
yeah,
my oldest said something, and it would have been the perfect spot to put an F-bomb.
yeah,
I was like, okay, you can say
yeah.
it.
Go ahead.
God, it's okay.
Because we live in a very open and honest household, I should say. The form of communication that exists here cannot be subtext.
Mm-hmm.
We exist as a family that understands the majority of the people are atypical neurospectrum, and so if you try to hint at, "Hey, did you do your chores this morning?" or "I need you to, did you take care of this yesterday?" And the answer is no. You can't leave it as, "I dropped a hint that you should have taken care of it today." You have to say, "I need you to take care of that today." And so
Yeah.
we live with that understanding. We also live with the understanding of, if I don't say it explicitly, you might as well have not said it. And so we live very honestly. And sometimes that conversation could be, "Hey, I asked you to do this thing. Yeah, I had to poop. Sorry." And so like that conversation just happens. And we just, yeah, I was off taking care of business. Like, what do you need now?
Mm-hmm.
I'm here now. Cool.
Right.
But we also live by the playbook of, I'm a big Steve Hofstetter fan, and Steve Hofstetter has a bit that says, "As a kid, we never got in trouble if it was funny enough."
Yeah.
And let me tell you, my 12 and my 8-year-old are starting to push those limits of, you never get in trouble if it's funny enough, because they will come back at me just as quick as I could ever imagine with a punchline that I didn't see coming.
That's good.
Yeah, but I learned it from watching you, Dad, and they did. And it's really amazing to see your own sense of humor grow its own wings and then come back to punch you in the face.
That makes me especially happy for
you. It is
you.
So great. It is a special kind of great.
Yeah. Oh, I'm going through my checklist here. I have one more tab that I forgot to put in the show notes.
Yes.
Car related.
DM me and I'll put it up and we'll go on that, and then we'll close.
Here we go. So this is interesting because this plays into, well, something that's near and dear to my heart.
Ooh, we're going to close with some car talk. I like it.
Car talk. Ram is going to a 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty.
Damn.
And that's interesting for a multitude of reasons. As avid viewers may know, I experienced an explosive failure.
Sudden involuntary failure.
Yeah. They just brake for driving them. Shut up, Jeff.
Last time you were on, we played the sound your engine made.
Yeah, it was magical.
Yeah.
But it was
a little bit of Fonzie Bear, a waka waka waka.
So Yeah, so that recall ended up handling all of my issue, right? Which is fine and dandy
Hmm.
and great. And my issue occurred at 65,000 miles.
Hmm.
So technically it was just outside the manufacturer warranty, but it was inside of my extended warranty. So it
Hmm.
was fine either way. It was just a frustrating process. But this 10-year, 100,000 mile thing,
Yeah.
so I've got a couple thoughts on it. The first one is great. You go out, you feel a little better about having to spend $70,000 to get a truck to do the job that you need it to do,
Right.
right? Like not everybody is just buying the big dually diesel pickup truck to lift it and have it take it down to, the mall.
Right.
There's guys that need to buy these things to work and to
That
do their
actually do
living.
work with it. Right.
Yeah, and that's what a majority of them go to, right? You
Hmm.
see the loonies here and there that do stuff that, never sees mud or a trailer in its life. But most people are buying these for purpose. So that
Yeah.
makes it a lot more compelling from a consumer perspective, but also from a supply chain perspective. Ian did a video on Mercedes and their technology, which,
Mm.
by the way, good job on that one, buddy. Really
Yeah.
enjoyed it. Um, what does this mean for electronics in these things? If 9 years from now the infotainment goes out, is RAM going to just put the new one in? Or are they still going to be making the one from today? Or am I going to get some sort of incremental upgrade? Or are we going to rely on just what's in inventory? Um, what does that look like, right? So then it puts the pressure on the supply chain today for all of that tech.
I will
Not
answer it with
just
the first tagline, and it is that RAM is increasing the powertrain warranty.
Okay, so but there's still a lot of electronic components in there, right?
There are, but infotainment would not be included in that.
Yeah,
However, it is an
I'll
interesting
give you that.
point that infotainment is currently very tightly integrated with ECU, BCU, etc. On
Hmm.
most modern vehicles, and they're not necessarily interchangeable from one model year to the other.
Yeah,
And so, yeah, if your infotainment screen goes down, but now you're not able to adjust your four-wheel drive or your auto braking hill descent because your touch screen is disabled, is that covered by your powertrain
right.
warranty? That's a great question.
And yeah, because I do understand that powertrain is generally considered the metallic components, right? And those are easy to kind of more produce and
Right.
put in there. But as this stuff gets tighter integrated, where are these lines getting drawn?
Yeah. Typically, powertrain will only cover the, like you said, metal on metal components. It's not going to
Hmm.
cover the electronic components, although an ECU would be considered part of the powertrain as the thing that is controlling the metal on metal. Is the infotainment so wired in as a control hub that it becomes part of the powertrain warranty? That is a fantastic question.
Yeah, there's a lot of different there's a lot of good to be said for them making this, and I think part of it too is them trying to win back customers. We all know Stellantis hasn't had the greatest sales recently. Um, it is what
Yep.
it is.
Yep.
Um,
I
I
will say Stellantis being Stellantis has taken a lot of models off of my potential buy list over the last couple of years.
Yeah, yeah. Interestingly enough, my wife's Durango in the 8 months that we've had it
Mm-hmm.
has actually appreciated in value on the used car market for some reason.
Most mid-sized cars, especially the seven-passenger vehicles, have. Our
Hmm.
van is worth the same today that we paid for it in 2021.
Yeah. Oh, I was clicking through a couple things on that RAM on the warranty. It's only to the original owner. It doesn't transfer with the vehicle.
Correct. Yeah.
But I mean, if you're looking to go buy something, but yeah, I guess if you're in it's pretty limited on, they do kind of say it's for our combustion engine, diesels, gas,
Mm-hmm.
all the way up through the 5500 chassis cab model,
Mm-hmm.
but hybrid systems, those auto start stop systems that everybody absolutely loves to have.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, that's it, it poses an interesting question of where we're going to see this stuff start to go,
Yeah,
especially when you combine it. And I encourage everybody to go watch Ian's video about Mercedes, because it really talks. He does a great job at talking about how tech really is starting to invade the vehicles.
yeah,
And as he properly calls out, right now it's probably only the really high end luxury model stuff, but that all trickles down. I
yeah.
mean, I have my my guilty pleasure car is a 2002 BMW E65, the Bangle Butt.
Mm-hmm.
And it's got tech in it that my 2023 doesn't necessarily have, or has a slight, and then other tech that's just evolved from it.
Yeah,
Night vision, adaptive cruise control. The infotainment is, obviously long in the tooth, but it's integrated into the car and controls portions of the chassis.
mm-hmm.
Um, where in my experience, where certain things were overlapped on that vehicle alone, um, it's not clear how that stuff's going to go in the long term.
Yeah.
That car did not age well, by the way. I
Yeah,
have it. I have it on life support.
yeah. Meanwhile, up until 7 months ago, I had a 2004 Nissan 350Z Roadster, and that the tech aged very well on, outside of
Hmm.
the infotainment, which was basically non-existent. It was a Bose cassette deck
Mm.
that came with that, which I upgraded to an Android head unit and had the Bose amplifier able to be converted to the new system. Um, it didn't have a lot of ancillary tech. It was one of the last like full analog cars that you could buy where, yeah, it has an ECU, it's electronic fuel injection and all that kind of stuff, but it had cruise control, but not auto follow cruise control. No radar cruise control. It had anti-lock brakes, but not auto brake. It had it had a 6-speed manual transmission, but it did have automatic rev matching. It had and a bunch of other things as well that are considered kind of archaic, but also like peak for the time.
Yeah.
And I loved that car to death. And the only reason I got rid of it was because, well, I'm a father of 3 and it only had 2 seats, including the one that I sit in.
That doesn't sound like a problem to me.
Right, right. I mean, when I was driving to work every day, that was not a problem. That was my
Yeah.
escape from reality. That was my Jeff's gonna go cruise for 40 minutes, even though the drive to work is only 12.
Traffic was real bad today. Sorry, man.
Traffic's awful. I'm gonna be home at like 6:30. It's just
Yeah.
what that means is I need to do a couple more 2-3 polls before I can come home.
Yeah. 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 I don't know. The automotive future, I'm excited for, but it scares me. Have you seen the new Escalade? Well, there's two. There's the V, which is the stock supercharged 700 horsepower ESV, and
It's
then there's
just
Icarus. No, that's not it. Escalade. What is it called? It's the EV IQ, which is deceptive from the photos.
yeah.
Um, the new Escalade IQ, which has an amazing range for its size.
It's based off the Chevy Silverado EV drivetrain, so you get like
Yeah.
460 miles of EV driving off
I
off of the new Escalade full size
it,
chassis.
it's explained when you go look at the 9,000 pound curb weight.
Yes, because it's 6,000 pounds of batteries, a couple thousand pounds of steel, and about 1,000 pounds of glass.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That God, I wouldn't like the days of owning an aging luxury car, which is, like I said, been my guilty pleasure hobby
oh,
for a
totally,
while.
totally.
And Hoovie's Garage on YouTube, for anybody who follows car people, probably knows it's always been kind of a fun, like, oh yeah, I've got this, this car was 100 grand new, like
Yeah,
you can buy
I
them for
picked it up for
5 grand right
12.
now.
Yeah,
Yeah. And then I know how to use YouTube, and I can watch the Eastern European auto repair shop show me how to work on it.
yeah. The
And
the
it's
Toyota
yeah,
Crown 500 and
yeah,
and
I
The
just those days I feel like are over. And in it's how are you going to maintain a Cadillac Escalade IQ in 2045?
I don't know. I don't know.
Where are you going to get the parts? You going to buy circuit boards and chips that burn out? Where are you going to like
Yeah, I mean, to be fair,
maybe?
the same can be said of the 3,000 components that made up internal combustion engine cars from the 1960s.
Yeah.
And we've managed to keep them running from third-party parts and add-ons and universal compatibility mods. And
So you're saying we should LS swap it?
I'm saying eventually there will be an LS in the EV world.
Yeah.
And I mean, Chevy's, to no small part of their own, been trying to do that with the Bolt drop-in drivetrain,
Hmm.
and doing EV conversions and things like that. Um, you know, there have been numerous endeavors to take Tesla drivetrains and
Edison,
mod them to other vehicles, or Nissan Leaf drivetrains and mod them to other vehicles.
Edison Motors is doing something with the pickup trucks with the
Yes, I love
EV
Edison.
axles.
Yep.
That's a fantastic model that they've got going on.
Hmm.
Um, I think that would be the closest thing to the framework car that Ian's talking about.
Right. While there will always be proprietary components in production vehicles, there will always be an engine that was built around a specific chassis in mind. There will
Yeah.
always be a community around that car that wants to keep that car alive. And we're gonna see the same thing from the Cyano mod community for Android exist within the EV space.
Yeah.
There's going to be a crowd of people who figure out how to make universal components to fit into whatever drivetrain that you bought, whether it's Subaru Solterra or a Rivian R2 or whatever car you happen to buy. They'll go, hey, your motor dies at 190,000 miles. We've made a drop-in replacement that will talk to these 3 different VCUs that will use whatever drivetrain and batteries that they had in mind, and will drop and replace, and you buy this conversion kit, and boom, Bob's your uncle. There will be that.
That brings in an interesting thing because I'm dealing with this on my Yukon, which is the bus is encrypted.
Mm.
And in the
Yep.
last 5 years, not cracked.
Yep.
Will it stay that way forever? Probably not. But the auto
There,
manufacturers
there's
are
an
getting
easy
better.
way to bypass that, and that is to go the Holly route and say, screw you, I'm going to do my own engine timing with my own controller.
LS swap it. Have you ever carbureted an LS before? It's kind of good.
I have not.
I've Holly EFI'd one.
Yeah, yeah.
It's kind of good.
Yeah, it's kind of good.
It's
Yeah.
it's kind of good.
Yeah. And so while there's not going to be, I mean, Fisker went out of business for the 3rd time and left 50,000 Ocean owners high and dry. And there's already an open source community for them to get the latest updates and apply them to a vehicle that was formerly encrypted. And there's always going to be a repair community if the demand is great enough. And if you drop $60,000 on a vehicle, the demand's going to be great enough.
Yeah.
So
I guess it's less nuts and bolts and more bits and bytes, right?
But that's kind of what it's been for the last 15 or so years since EFI has really taken over, especially like the
Yeah.
drag racing scene and a lot of the racing scene is now you've got, instead of someone trying to go, when we drive up to a track, we've got to put in the right jets and get the right floats and do all this other stuff.
You drop a different map
the old
in it.
carb guys, they go, yeah, we've got a Holly EFI setup on it. Now we've got the full chart up on our laptop. We can just make a couple of tweaks for the air fuel and altitude density ratio, plug that in, and off we go.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden their car is making more horsepower than it did at sea level. So
EFI do be good.
yes, it does. Yes, it do.
Anyways, We did car talk.
Did car talk, we did tech talk, we did space talk, and we wrapped it up with car talk. There you go.
There we go.
That's a good show. I
I
like
think it
that
was an
show.
alright show.
Tech Potato, look up the Gambler 500, Portland Zone.
I've done it.
Have you?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. I've thought about it so many times. I've thought about doing the traditional route of buying the $500 car and doing the Gambler. Maybe that's something you and I need to do. Traditional Gambler 500.
It is in 2 days.
I think that's too close. I think we need to aim for 2026. We could do that. We can make 2026 happen.
Okay, I've got ideas about it we can talk about in the after show.
I love it. Novella Hub says, wrap it up with Star Trek.
Oh, did I show you this last time?
I know all three sounds that makes. I have
Four.
that. That makes me so happy. You have no idea. Do you have the original stand for it too? Do you have the ComBadge stand?
No, this is not the stand one. But it doesn't it got it in the box and the decals haven't even been applied to it yet.
Yeah.
Yeah. You could do
No, no.
the zoom thing.
So the original one from Playmates had two different battery doors. One of them was a flat battery door for playing with. The other one was a battery door that included a stand mount. That's incredible. I still remember putting those on mine. So the original one came with two battery doors. One that you could attach to a stand and set it on a shelf, and the other that was a flat, textured one so you could play with it.
Mm-hmm.
I still remember taking the engines off mine and using them as phasers because I didn't have the phaser yet.
Oh. The phaser's an advertisement on the back of the box for this. And a shuttlecraft.
Okay, if you're gonna hit me with that, I'm gonna hit you with one, okay?
Okay. The suspense intensifies. Good call on the wrapping it with Star Trek. Yeah, this is in great shape too. Didn't have any corroded batteries in it when I got it either.
So, in the early to mid 90s, the Franklin Mint did a number of one-off collectibles for Star Trek memorabilia. They had a lot of Christmas ornaments, a lot of knickknacks, but they also had some like really, really good things too. They had the gold and silver plated 3D chess set, which I also have across the room.
We've talked about that.
That's not what I'm going to show you today. I'm going to show you the gold and pewter Type 2 phaser.
Oh, that's epic. Does it do things?
It doesn't do things.
Okay.
The buttons are independent. They do rock, but they don't actually press or light up or do anything. And it was never meant to. But acrylic on the front, so it's a see-through beam emitter. And all of this is done in metal.
Wow. That is touche.
And I have the stand and the certificate of authenticity. So
that's epic.
Yeah. Come at me, bro.
Next show. We'll see who has the best.
That's right. Skull says I have both the D and the Romulan Warbird ornaments from them. I don't have the Franklin Mint ornaments, but I do have some of the Hallmark ornaments. I have the Defiant and the Future Enterprise D with 3 nest cells.
It's like a small ornament?
Yeah, it's a Christmas ornament. And they plug into your Christmas lights, and so they light up.
I have one of those. Hold on. I'm trying to think.
Next show.
Next show.
Green says he has the phaser, which does make sound. I also have the phaser and the tricorder. I have both of the
Is
Playmates items.
yeah.
In fact, where are those
I
at?
think
Hold on, are those on my back shelf here?
is
Hold
that
on.
your phaser? 6151 phaser?
No, they're not there. Where did I set those? Gosh darn it.
Yeah, the Playmates Enterprise D. I when I saw this on the shelf, I was expecting an exorbitant price, and it wasn't. And then when I opened it up and I
Yeah,
saw what a condition it was in,
yeah.
I was like blown away.
No,
All right.
that's insanely cool because I had that model of the D, but like I said, mine also came
Yeah.
with the 2 battery doors with the stand. There was also a Romulan bird of prey and a Klingon bird of prey. I had the Romulan bird of prey.
Do you want to take a guess on how much I paid for the Enterprise?
I love that the stickers haven't even been applied because I applied all my stickers and
Yeah.
I had that as a kid. Like I know the 4 buttons on the back and what sounds they
Yeah.
make because mm,
I don't know if that came through.
$40. How much should you pay?
20. I
Good for
I
you.
was
Good for you.
I wasn't expecting it to be this awesome. And then I got it and I was like, "Oh,
Zach says he has the Playmates Excelsior with the stand.
ooh,
I always wanted the
that's
Excelsior.
cool."
I never had it. I did have the Enterprise D. I had the Romulan Bird of Prey. I had the TNG engineering playset. So like the warp core and all the figures with it. And you could run the warp core, or you could run it at warp, or you could warp core breach it where it would explode.
Oh, there's a Playmates Excelsior right now, new inbox, open box, but new
Yeah,
inbox for $150 on eBay right
yeah,
now.
that sounds about right. Um,
Someone go
I
snap
had
that up.
all
That's
of the
cool.
bridge crew. I had every single character. I had Gul Dukat, I had Cisco, I had O'Brien. So from the DS9, but I had every TNG bridge crew. I think I even had Keiko.
Oh man.
Um, do you have the Tuvix action figure? I do not have a Tuvix action figure, unfortunately. The memes would be just so great if I did. Um,
Oh, there's a DS9 Defiant Playmates
I
that I
never
really
had the
want.
Defiant, and that's the one that I had the DS. I had Deep Space Nine. I had the Deep Space Nine set,
Oh,
which came with a mini Enterprise D that could dock on one of the upper pylons.
I'm shipping this to your house. I'll pick it up next time I see it. It's it's in Washington.
You have my address.
Oh man.
I won't say no to a Defiant to hang on my back wall. Like,
Yes, but I have to repossess it at some point.
I will maybe allow you to repossess it.
There's some good stuff out there right now. Oh, there's the Playmate shuttlecraft that's on the
I had the Playmate
on my
Shuttlecraft.
box.
I had the Shuttlecraft Goodard.
Did you ever have the bridge playset?
I didn't have the bridge. I had the Shuttlecraft and I had the engineering set. I didn't have the bridge.
Enterprise D playset.
The bridge was pretty cool.
Oh, and the doors open.
Yeah. Yeah, the turbo lift doors open and spun around, and so you could take the figures out and then reopen the doors and they vanish. There was also a transporter set.
Oh,
There was a
that's cool.
transporter room that you could get.
Oh man. I don't think I can do the sets, but I can totally get into the ships. Because I want to I you can't see it, but my ceiling's like prime for hanging this kind of stuff up.
Oh yeah, totally.
Just do some fishing line, get them looking good. Just leaving this. Elmo's posting things. Oh, Elmo. That is cool. Discord. Anyways,
Anyway, we're almost 3 hours in.
Yeah,
I think that's a good show.
I think it's a great show.
I will say, I had a mod for PDX LAN 3 years ago, that ended up exploding the morning of, and I'm so pissed off because that basically ruined the mod. I was making a TNG warp core. I had taken a warp core design off printables and hollowed out the inside so I could fit it inside of an EK rad, or an EK pump and reservoir. And also strung lights up the back and the bottom so it would pulse like the warp core. And so that was your pump and reservoir for a liquid cooled system. It was
awesome.
It was my Epic Rome 7742 64 core with dual RTX A5000s. I also had a set of RAM, and so the CPU was water cooled, and that was the point of the warp core reservoir. I also had 8 RAM sticks that I had bought third-party RGB accessories for, and I had pulsed those with the warp core as well, and I had written all the RGB to pulse at the same rate in software. I had a 15-inch LCD on the side of it that was like an LCARS display that listed system specs and stats and everything else. And this was supposed to be a system that Be Quiet was going to sponsor that I took to PDX LAN. And I pulled an all-nighter putting it together in the morning of one PDX LAN. And I fired it up at 7 in the morning. Finally, like, every system go for the first time. Like, I've tested the RGB, I've tested the LCD, I've tested the system itself, I've tested everything. Everything's good to go. I had a Raspberry Pi that was powering the LCD that was reading off of iStats that did, like, everything for me. I tested everything independently. I flipped the power supply for the first time to boot everything all off the same system. And my power supply to 5-volt adapter sent 12 volts to my RGB rail.
Ooh.
And literally popcorn exploded my RGB lights. And backfed into my Raspberry Pi and my LCD, and the motherboard and the RAM was fine, but it killed everything else. It killed the Raspberry Pi, it killed the screen, it killed the lights, it killed the controllers, it killed everything the first time I flicked the switch. And I went back and I verified every cable, and every cable was going to the right thing. And a controller that I had bought for the RGBs was supposed to only feed 5 volt, and it fed 12. I tested it. And it fed 12 volts into the system and backfed into everything else.
God, that's a bummer.
Yep. So 7 a.m. after an all night, I had not slept, and I'm supposed to leave at 11, and present this mod as part of like a Be Quiet showcase piece. I'm supposed to present this at their booth at PDX LAN, and I had to call Be Quiet, and I said, sponsorship's off. I can't do it. It's dead.
That's terrible.
Yep. I was so.
What a horrible feeling too.
Horrible. Yeah.
God.
Yep. One day that mod will relive. Like I still have all the files. I can remake it, but my heart just hasn't been in it because I got gut punched at the finish line so hard. I had laser cut graphics for a side panel, NX7405 for and it said USS Craft on the side, and I'd laser cut like all the lettering and gold plated it and whatnot. Like it was like it was supposed to be like a view into engineering for a spaceship, and then you had an LCARS display panel and a warp core and everything else. Like that was kind of the theme, and the whole thing literally blew up on me. Literally blew up.
Might be worth a revival if you have some of that sitting in a box somewhere.
I do have a lot of it sitting in a box somewhere. So,
all right, well, call our buddy Gearlane. Get some Raspberry Pis.
Get some Raspberry Pis. Let's get this thing going again.
Let's go.
All right. Maybe I'll see if I can do that for Fall PDX in November. Let's make that happen. I brought the same rig to PDX twice in a row. I brought a Factor Design Terra. I think it's time for another case mod.
Need to do a good one.
Need to do a good one. Yeah. Well, cool. Jordan, thank you so much for joining. This is fun. This is
Thanks for
fun.
having me again.
Absolutely.
Always glad to be here.
This has been episode 388 of Talking Heads. Join us every Wednesday night at 6 p.m. Pacific time for the latest in beer and tech news right here on YouTube. Hit that thumbs up button if you like the video. Subscribe to Craft Computing if you haven't done so already. Jordan, anything to plug or go to the order before we close?
No, just plug the Craft Computing store. Thanks for your support, audience, and making this happen so Jeff and I can have a good time and entertain y'all fine people on the internets.
Buy stuff on craftcomputing.store so I can continue to buy amazing 13.6% beers like this AleSmith Vietnamese Coffee Edition Stout.
Yeah, Jeff needs to keep upping his Star Trek collection so we can keep one-upping each other on streams.
We really do. Jordan tried to up me on Legos a couple of weeks ago, and I outshot him on my. Was it you that I outshot with the Walter White RV?
Oh, yeah. You brought up the Walter White RV. I was very envious of that one.
Yeah. I have a couple new Lego sets that you can't buy. I have a full server rack infrastructure switch Lego set, and I also have the Solidigm 122 terabyte Lego set.
Bro, get out of here.
There you go. Nice. Mine's up on the table right now. I'm going to put it together in a video this week.
Get out of here.
Do you have the Dell AI Factory with Technician?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have the...
We got those at Supercompute. We were together for that.
That's right. I got mine through other channels. I was not at Supercompute, but I got mine through other channels. I wasn't there. I wasn't there this last year. I was trying to be there, but then it ended up not working last minute, and so I didn't go to Atlanta last year. I will be in Louisville this year, like guaranteed. I will be there. Okay. But I've also got the Dell Optane Lego set.
Oh, okay.
Ah.
That's a rare one.
Yes. I actually had two of those, and I had to trade one to get my server rack data set.
Oh. Oh, man. Those server racks at Supercompute were hard to get.
Yeah.
I called in favors to get them.
Yep. Yeah. But yeah, I got my AI Factory. So there we go.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you all so much for watching.
Thank you.
And as always, we'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.
Cheers, everyone.